Can you feel it? Nothing can save ya, cause this is the season of funky behavior. I came to relax your mind, you can recline. On what? On this here rhyme. I like the style, I'm staying for a while. It helps me show cats that I'm versatile. I'll touch your dial, turn your frown to a smile. I'll make you feel like you're having a child. So relax and open up, child. I'm about to make you walk what? Pimp style. Or pimped out style, you don't understand the logic. See, if you don't have it all, I'll take a deposit. I got shit for you, it's alright indeed. It's like going to the garden and planting the seed. It might tickle for a second, but it won't bleed. So just relax, just hear a dope crack. I'm just real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax, and just hear a dope crack. I'm just real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just entertainment, at the same time edutainment. In other words, you could call it vent. What I'm saying is that I'm here at your service. It's hard work, but then again, I deserve this. I'm helping people enjoy their spare time. I'm like an instructor when I'm doing my rhyme. Relax and just hear the dope track. It's really not all that, it's not like a gag. We like that when everything is relaxed and chill. You don't have to get fucked up or take pills, cause I like being myself, it feels good. Yo, it makes my meals taste good. 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 So just relax. It's your dope track. I'm just real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and hear a dope track. I'm just real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax. My mind state, not balloon, it won't inflate. To take the buzz, this much wiser kid, fuck the shade. And take it to a lower level, and dig a ditch for a devil. Got some more kids and pass the shovel. Dig a hole, take them on a spiritual roll. Lyrics unfold, either that or unroll the scroll. Episodes keep reoccurring and stifling. People's vision get blurring, their hearts start murmuring. I'm about 5 times iller than a Sherman. Introspection is God's gift to the miracle. I freak material, lamb's milk without the cereal. When MCs say your booty, they mean venereal. Your fake material hip-hop killers, they more faking than fucking Michael Jackson and Thriller. The status of a hoe, Quanto Costa. They wanna know how much it costs, kid. I bet for keep to me like. Relax and just hear a dope crack. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat. Just relax and just hear a dope crack. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat. Just relax. inherited from our harshest past, and better than our society's identity. But then again, can you tell me that's free? They explain to you what your mind should perceive, suggest things they want you to believe, like your skin color dictates your race. They're calling you an idiot to your face, like life is much simple than that. We're all slaves and the cards are stacked. While we fight over problems we can fix, industrialists turn our kids to addicts. The television does a job, introduce you. The radio's right there to seduce you, keep you locked on the wrong damn track. Cigarettes is just legalized crack. They want you to catch a damn heart attack. They want you to catch a damn heart attack. What? Stop believing in the flag, it's a trap. Cause men rule this world, that's a fact.
They don't know, they don't know.
But I'm gonna make it right tonight.
They don't like, they don't like.
But I'm gonna stay like I know. They don't know,
they don't know. Good morning, everybody. What's up? What's up? Good late night. It's 02:26 Eastern Standard Time. August 27th, Thursday, America, and that makes it 08:26 Central European Time. I'm sorry, in the EU, and and we having another episode of Damn. People better stand up, or you lose your democracy. That quick, that serious. You know, it's been some interesting developments. R.I.P. to Dolly Parton, by the way. Wow, I just thought, like, you know, I was listening to some of her credentials, some of the things that she achieved in her life, and some of what her life was about, her music and the things she believed in, you know, her own personal doctrine. And indeed, it's beautiful, man. She was a beautiful lady, a beautiful human being. And, you know, I think we need more people like Dolly Parton, people that know how to keep it real, You know what I'm saying? You know, just keep it real, man, and don't be a bigot. That's so lame. It is so lame. You know what I mean? It's just lame and tiresome. You know, bigots really have a tiring life, and they may not notice if they get their Social Security check that they have a tiring life. But the moment you take that fucking Social Security check from them, then they will realize, like, damn, I actually needed that check. I actually needed help from somebody else. And wow, I'm out here, you know, talking bad about other people who are really just like me, just because of the difference in their skin color, maybe, or their religion, or some other thing, you know. It might come from a big city like myself. I come from the big city. You know what I mean? The country folk don't like that necessarily. Some of the Midwesterners don't like that. You think you better than us. You come from the big city. It's like, no, it's a town. It's not just a big city. It's a town where people come from, born and raised. You know what I mean? Have grandparents there and shit like that. You know what I mean? Places like everywhere else in America, whether it's big or small, you got real people. So big up to Dolly Parton, for being a real one. And not just standing up for women, but standing up for everybody. So I appreciate that, you know. Yeah, exactly. Social Security is your money. You know what I mean? and yet, but it's not just Social Security. I just used it as an example. You know, it's like people that get tax dollars, they're complaining about other people that want their tax dollars to be used wisely and want their tax dollars to be used a specific way. It's like ridiculous. You know, who does that anymore? Oh, Tim Curry died too. Oh, okay. Damn. Rest in peace to Tim. I didn't even know that, man. You know, but yeah. And rest in peace to all the good people, the people that just know how to keep it real and have some compassion for other folks. You know, it's hatred. It's easy to fall for it. You know, speaking of that shit, I'll give you an idea how everybody can approach this. I used to hear this term FBA, and I used to think, like, okay, maybe that's okay if you need to redefine or even be more specific, you know, F foundational Black American. But after a while, I started seeing that they were using it to manipulate people, not bring people together, not connect you. See, it's one thing to know your ethnicity. It's important to have ethnicity because your ethnicity is just another letter in the alphabet. It's connected to another one and another one and another one and another one, right? It's not, you know, just because you come from the letter A doesn't mean you don't need to have great relations with letter B, C, D, E, F, and the rest of the alphabet. You know what I mean? You're still related. period. You take one of those alphabets away, you take part of yourself away. That's how it really works. That's how intricate and that's how interconnected people really are. And when I started seeing that, damn, I mean, these people are willing to basically turn their back on folks that help fight for our own liberty. It's like, damn, what's wrong with you? Like, at what point is that? I mean, it's just too much. So I saw that later, and then I said, nah, I can't. I'm sorry, it's too much for me, because what they want you to do is to isolate yourself like Trump. That's what they want you to do. They don't want you interconnected. They don't want people to share, right? They want people to divide. So I'm like, man, fuck all of that. It's just too much. Yeah. You need to learn how to stand up for everybody, by the way, and not just only yourself. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. There's times where you need to highlight yourself. You know what I mean? Because that's also equally important, but not you shouldn't do that and put out the message that you're willing to abandon others at the same time. That's too much. It's too much. So it's just an example. Everybody has to face these kind of concepts, no matter who you are, and come to terms with them, how valuable they are or how invaluable they are, or maybe how they're just not valuable at all. So but on that note, let's get back to where we started. This shit with the CIA and the U.S. military going to Russia. This meeting with Russia. I still find that there's more coming out about this, and it's interesting. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but it does have people concerned. So let's check it out. Let's
Journal is reporting why the CIA director made a mysterious trip to Moscow. John Ratcliffe meeting with Russian officials early this morning. And let's show you video of what's believed to be his plane landing in Latvia shortly after that visit. We are now learning what those discussions were about, according to the Wall Street Journal. They report that Ratcliffe was there to deliver a warning to Russia not to attack NATO countries, which is obviously a significant meeting, a message that could have been conveyed in many different ways that didn't require the CIA director taking the sort of risk of going in there and having Ukraine not have to bomb Russia.
I don't believe it. And fuck it. Prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. I don't believe that shit at all. And sorry, it's the same old game with the Trump administration. What everyone else does to exhibit strength, Trump does the opposite and exhibits weakness. I mean, so he says one thing, strength, but it's the exact opposite every single time. So they say he went in there to give Russia a warning. To me, it sounds like, no, they're taking a warning. Something else is going on. People need to take a warning from. And it's probably, it's probably the EU. EU needs to, think about this. Other West NATO nations need to think about that. Yeah, need to think about that. This is the head of the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency of the United States, going to meet Putin personally. And whatever exchange they have, they are giving Putin something from the USA. However you want to look at it, they are giving him something. And if you travel all the way to Russia to give them a message, that's totally backwards. That's totally backwards. You're the one bothering to make the trip, motherfucker. What is wrong with you? That's how you send a message? Bending over backwards? Like, damn, that's a great way to deliver a message. What's next? You going to spread your butt cheeks too? Is that what you're going to do? Here, I got a message to deliver you, Putin. Let me bend over first.
During that, given that CNN reported about 2 weeks ago that U.S. intelligence assessments indicated Putin could try to test NATO's resolve by launching an attack on a NATO member. Now, earlier, Trump downplayed the significance of the visit. Here he is.
And look at how sick Putin looks, man. Look at these pictures, man.
Indicated
look at this. Look.
Could try to test NATO's resolve by launching an attack on a NATO member.
Look at this. He's an old sick motherfucker. Like, he is, don't get it twisted. He is sick. He is sick. And he's up to something. That is, he is definitely up to something. Oh, this man got bodies on. He's a cold killer. He is a cold killer of Russians. First and foremost, he is a cold killer of Russian people, first and foremost. So, a motherfucker is, doesn't care about other people. But I'm just saying, to me, it doesn't look right. The man doesn't look right in the head, is what I'm saying. Them little beady eyeballs, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is narcissism. He's just a healthier form of Trump. You know what I'm saying? Trump is not healthy physically, but when you look at his eyes every once in a while, you can see that in his brain, he thinks he's the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, but here,
now earlier, Trump downplayed the significance of.
Oh yeah, he's losing it. He's losing it. Putin is probably losing his hair. He's probably scratching their head so much. I'm telling you, stress is probably digging in his ass because Moscow's getting bombed. Moscow is getting bombed. What type of goddamn fucking superpower invades their neighbor, a little ass neighbor, lies to the whole world, invades the little ass neighbor, and then has that little ass neighbor bombing their capital? What the fuck? That shows you he is weak, right? But a weak person is also a dangerous person. But why would this fool go all the way there for a weak person that's getting his capital bombed? That makes no sense whatsoever. And look at this dude's face. Look of treason, maybe? A look of treason? I mean, it's not going to go down well. Whatever this is, it's not going to go down well. That's what my instincts tell me. But yeah, let's hear more.
Assessments indicated Putin could try to test NATO's resolve by launching an attack on a NATO member. Now earlier, Trump downplayed the significance of the visit. Here he is.
He's there on, very sort of semi-routine. I hate to disappoint people. We would like to see the war with Ukraine end.
The comment there about the CIA director is false. The CIA director's secret flying to Moscow is anything but routine. This was Ratcliffe's first known visit to Russia since the start of Trump's second term. It's been 5 years since a CIA director has stepped foot in Russia. I've spoken to a former CIA director who went there when times were much less fraught, who would have described it at the time as an incredibly security risk and anything but routine. Lara Seligman broke the story for the Wall Street Journal, and she is out front tonight. So, Lara, okay, you obviously have significant new reporting here. So let's just start with what can you tell us about this trip and what triggered it?
So what prompted this surprise visit to Moscow by Ratcliffe was new U.S. intelligence assessments that Russian President Vladimir Putin could launch a limited assault on an allied country, likely a Baltics nation, in the next few years. We reported this a few weeks ago. So Ratcliffe was dispatched by the Trump administration to Moscow yesterday. He arrived in a military aircraft, kind of a surprise. And the intent was to deliver this message to Putin not to attack NATO countries. So this is really significant and really signifies that the Trump administration takes this intel seriously. He arrived there on a military jet. He met with Russian intelligence officials, not Putin himself, although Putin was briefed on the meeting. So why would Putin go and attack a NATO country, especially while his military is stretched so thin in Ukraine? Well, according to intelligence officials, the idea would be to test NATO's resolve and try to fracture the alliance. What we know is that U.S. officials are increasingly concerned that Putin is backed into a corner, and the thinking is that a cornered Putin lashes out.
Yeah, I mean, so much of this is so fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, that's what people have been saying. That's what Europeans have been saying. That's what they've been preparing for, right? But still, we're dealing with Trump and his personal friendship with Vladimir Putin. Trump and his personal history with Russians. Russian mafia, which is directly connected to Russian intelligence. I mean, we're talking about Trump. Trump is the weak link. He's the weakest link, So anytime that weakest link is the one making the decisions, and Putin knows that, I mean, Trump is Putin's card. You know, Putin has Trump. He's had him the entire time. Trump turned away from Ukraine because of his friend and his connection to his personal ally, Putin. That's what it is. And in recent days, I don't know how many of you have seen this. There's reports that Ukraine has really been hitting private residences of Putin. Like they hit his vault, one of his personal vaults. That's what they say was one of the targets, like where he keeps some shit. It's not, you know, they say that Putin doesn't keep things in his name. His properties are not in his name. His vaults are not in his name. Shit like that. Right. But they're saying that the places that Ukraine has been targeting are places that are specifically owned by Putin, that other people keep in his name. And one of those things is one of his main vaults in Moscow, in Russia, somewhere in Russia, maybe not Moscow, but somewhere in Russia. So I think the timing about that, I'm more inclined to believe Trump is trying to help Putin. Very simple.
Saying that
somebody said, doofus, get off the tube, idiotic moron. Oh, man, fuck you. I'm not on here for you. I don't owe you shit. Who the fuck are you? Hop your ass up here. Let me get the panel link out for you, chump. Come up here and speak your truth. If you're not scared, a scared little troll got to hide from your mama on the internet. Will your wife let you come up? Is it too late at night? Let me see here. Are you free to do what you want, or you got to check in with your mama first? Here you go. Let me put the panel link up. That's so funny. Here, come on up here. Okay, MG USA, which is another fake ass troll name, probably not even an American, and Noms, hop your bitch ass up here. Okay, there you go. Let's have a conversation. Now I'm going to continue. Okay, if you don't mind.
you know, the reporting is obviously stunning. You're reporting that Putin would be considering an attack like this. But if it's within a couple of years, why this now? And also why this administration, which has had, frankly, such disdain for its own intelligence assessments on things like Ukraine.
Exactly. This administration has had such a disdain for its own intelligence information and warnings about Russia and Putin, you know. So, I mean, this only makes sense. This is only good for people that kiss Trump's ass. That's all it is. Or Russian trolls.
Reporting is obviously stunning. You're reporting that Putin would be considering an attack like this. But if it's within a couple of years, why this now? And also why this administration, which has had, frankly, such disdain for its own intelligence assessments on things like Ukraine or Iran, took this one seriously. I mean, there's so many questions from all of this. But, you know, among them, Lara, is this. Hours ago, Trump was asked about a possible Russian attack on NATO, right? Was that the reason for the trip? Somebody asked him, and this is what he said.
The CIA director, ours, is in Russia. Rumors are saying Putin is going to test NATO resolve, all the way to speculation that is crazy. He's going to strike England, all the way to this is maybe the U.S. telling them about the Iranian sanctions, saying we're serious about them. Can you tell me why?
Ain't none of that shit. I don't believe it for 1 second. I don't believe that's what's going on here. But let me roll it back. Let's hear Trump's words again.
For the trip, somebody asked him, and this is what he said.
The CIA director, ours, is in Russia. Rumors are saying Putin is going to test NATO resolve, all the way to speculation that is crazy. He's going to strike England, all the way to this.
You have to understand this. This is Europe's own intelligence agencies telling them this. They are spying on Russia because Russia is right next to Western Europe. It's the neighbor to Western Europe. They can literally put up a motherfucking microphone and record. Okay. Just as an example, they're close. They're on the border. Okay, so this is their own intelligence agencies telling them that Putin is preparing an attack. Whether he does it or not, he's already been doing hybrid attacks. I mean, how often in the U.S. have you heard about hybrid attacks that Russia has been doing on Denmark and doing on England? did on France, did on Sweden. You didn't hear about any of those hybrid attacks? Put a 1 in the chat if you heard about any of those hybrid attacks that took place this year. This year. Did you hear about it in the U.S.? So this is the point. He's doing the same thing he always does. He's going against everybody else's intelligence assessment, even his own. He's like, Putin's not doing that. Listen to what he's saying. He's saying, nah, man, Putin's not planning on doing that. Trust me. I know Putin. Putin's my friend. He would never do that.
That is crazy. He's going to strike England, all the way to this is maybe the U.S. telling them about the Iranian sanctions, saying we're serious about them. Can you tell me why our CIA director flew in the middle of the night to meet with the Russians?
Well, none of the above. He's there on, very sort of semi-routine. I hate to disappoint people. We would like to see the war with Ukraine end.
Unfortunately, nobody's in a position in the Western world to believe Trump. He also wants to invade Greenland. Haven't you heard lately? He also pretty much doesn't respect Western culture and values. Pretty much. You see what I mean? Talking down on them about cultural values. You see what I mean? Putting tariffs, levying tariff after tariff after tariff against allied nations. So why would anyone in their right mind trust anything that Trump says at all? Period.
So among the things Glenn Beck lists there is Putin is going to test NATO resolve. Trump denies it. Obviously, your detailed reporting contradicts what he said. What do you make of his denial?
Putin's going to test NATO's resolve because Putin got played invading Ukraine. And he's pissed. He is isolated in Russia. He is desperate himself. He literally has Russians coming after him now. Yes, that's how bad it is in Russia. People are coming after him. Russians. You see, that's how pissed people are. Putin has run Russia into the ground. Over being a narcissist in the head. Dude can't let go of power. Dude doesn't want to allow any other voice to exist in Russia. You see what I mean? This is what's happening, and he's angry because Ukraine made him look like a fucking fool. Fool. Russia lost over 1 million soldiers trying to invade a tiny nation that didn't really even have a standing army, really. 1 million fucking Russians died trying to invade Ukraine. Who the fuck does that? So you are dealing with a madman named Putin, and that person is a friend of Donald J. Trump in reality. Like, maybe not friend, more like slave master, more like pimp of Donald J. Trump. Like, that shit's real. That shit is real. But here we go. Let's see some more.
Well, I think it's kind of embarrassing for the administration. I think he was meant to go there covertly and have this meeting with Russian intelligence officials. Potentially, they even asked to speak with Putin himself, and they did not actually meet with Putin. And it's possible that Russia rebuffed their request and they went home empty-handed. So my thinking is potentially they're embarrassed and don't want to admit what they were doing. But what we do know is that Putin.
That's facts. They were embarrassed. They thought it would be a secret, just like Hakeem Jeffries' meeting. They thought it would be a secret with what's this cat's name? Trump's son-in-law, Kushner, right? Jared Kushner. They thought that would be a meeting. No, but it got leaked. Shit is going to get leaked after leaked after leaked after leaked. You think that the Pentagon? You think the intelligence community and Pentagon did not leak this to the media? This trip? Yes, they did. They did. They wanted to keep it a secret. Trump wanted this meeting to be a secret. That's basically what it looks like. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, The panel is open. Feel free to hop up. The link is in the chat. Let me see. Let me pull this up here and put it in one more time, just in case you don't see it. Feel free to hop up, speak your mind. If you have any important information you think anybody who's listening needs to know, hey, it's open. The chat is open. People are allowed to speak their truth. I can't let you know how well that's going to turn out, but you know what I'm saying? For those that have some truth, you're allowed to be in the chat. You don't even have to subscribe, although a cool ass would subscribe or like. But in any case, let's play some more.
Is in a very difficult situation right now. He is being squeezed on the battlefield in Ukraine, and he's under domestic pressure at home. And he may see an opening as well, since there is, as we've reported, a shortfall in critical Western munitions that's been driven by expenditures in the Iran war. So that could also factor into Putin's thinking here.
Exactly. Putin has watched dumbass Trump use up so many weapons dealing with little ass Iran. So what Trump did was do the same stupid shit Putin did in invading Ukraine. That's what Trump did. And Trump wanted to invite Europeans to use their weapons also. Use them all right now, y'all. So in months, a year down the line, you'll be totally defenseless. That's what Trump invited people to do. Now, Trump, nobody else took that invitation because they see it for what it is. They see Trump as a sellout, inviting them to destroy their own nations, right? So they were like, fuck this. We're not joining this fool. Who does this? We just got finished telling the world it's wrong for Russia to invade Ukraine. And now Trump is out there bombing Iran, and you can't really win that way. You have to speak to them, you know? So, but Trump was like, no, we're going to bomb them. We're going to bomb. Like we got all the bombs in the world and can't ever run out. And now they're like, oops, sorry. If we have a war with China, our own military is telling us we don't have enough weapons now because we use too many in Iran. Very simple. Very simple. So Putin could be thinking, now is the time to take it far because I'm a crazy motherfucking narcissist. I'm an authoritarian. I've been beating down my countrymen for decades. And if I can do it at home, I can do it anywhere. Who the fuck is going to stop me? He could be thinking that. Michael, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What you think so far?
I think Putin's, look, he's desperate. He's not dumb, right? He knows about the war in Iran. He knows, I'm sure every major intelligence has an idea of how much our ammunition on a global scale looks like.
Exactly.
Right? I think
it's not a secret. It's not a secret, right?
It's not. It's not. And again, they have intelligence, right? On all fronts, right? They know more or less on a global scale. We all keep each other in check, right? Especially in superpowers, on a level for superpowers, we all keep each other in check. We know that, intelligence, especially intelligence leaks, who knows how infiltrated this administration is, be it as that his first tenure, he had ties with this, Russian administration and government, right?
Right. Yeah. It's all over this Trump. They all over Trump's administration. Yeah.
It's all over, right? Putin's his friend, right? We need to make peace. But also, who are we to say anything when we went into Venezuela, took their leader? We're, economically suffocating Cuba, right? And we have election interferences and influence in Latin America.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Who are we to be the moral compass, right? And I think that's also where Putin's looking at it, right? Like, if America can do whatever they want to, why can't I? Right? And also testing NATO, right? Because NATO's biggest contributor is the US, right? So obviously testing to see if America is also going to fight a war on two fronts.
But it's a game because he knew Trump would do this. This was part of him and Trump's plan to go after Cuba, to go after Venezuela. They negotiated the shit themselves. And now he's like, who are you to do this? Who are you? If you could do it, I could do it too. But he played Trump. That's how stupid Trump is. Putin was looking to play Trump and use him as a personal example for what he wants to accomplish himself. And Trump gave it to him because Trump is a bitch. Yeah.
There you go. Right. And Trump thinks he's this master manipulator. He has no idea who Putin is. right?
Right.
This man is trained in this, right? He's trained in propaganda. He's trained in manipulation. These are his tactics, right? He's former KGB, so he's former intelligence himself, right? So he knows how these things play out,
Yeah.
you know.
And Trump
And
is douchebag, current douchebag, not even
of
former.
course,
He's a former what?
and I do
Pedophile?
believe
Former friend of Jeffrey Epstein.
exactly,
What the
right? Which I'm sure Putin knows more on those files than what we know publicly, right? So, you
Yeah.
know, and also, in terms of, the information given to the CIA, I do believe that intel came directly from Ukraine, right?
It's possible.
They
Yeah. Yeah.
themselves have
Yeah.
great intelligence, right?
Well,
And so,
they have spies there. They have spies
yes,
in Russia. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's likely, very likely, not only that Ukraine, being a neighbor to Russia, has spies in Russian inside of the inner workings of Russian government, but it's also likely that some of the neighbors do also.
hmm
So they
right?
when they have these security assessments, the EU, it's not because they're not the closest to the words that are being said out of the Russian government's mouth in private meetings.
Yeah.
They know
Yeah.
exactly what this dude is up to, man. Go ahead. Yeah,
No,
continue.
they definitely do, right? And I think, with that said, again, they expected this meeting to be private, which also shows that there's leaks within this administration, right? The same thing with Jared Kushner and Hakeem Jeffries.
Yep.
There's leaks
There's
within
leaks.
this administration, and that is a prime example of a failed administration. When an administration starts crumbling, you start getting leaks from every which way, which means even going forward, they won't be able to do anything in secret, right?
Right.
Because this is the CIA. This is not someone who's readily identifiable, who the media is just going to keep tabs on 24/7 to watch and move. This was given as a heads up.
Right.
Hey, look, this is what's happening, right? And forcing the reporting and forcing them to admit or even just comment on the visit to Moscow, right? Which hasn't been done, right? Which hasn't been done in prior times, right? So when we look at it, we want to be able to understand that it is about, the intelligence that is being given to the US, right? Again, through various ways, but I do think Ukraine
Right.
is that main factor, right? They're fighting another war, right? They also want to ensure that they're also being supported by the US to the maximum
Yeah.
if another war does break out.
Right.
Because now, can America still support Ukraine in the way it does now if there's another country that's attacked, and now the U.S. has to step up on a NATO level to support that other neighboring country who's being attacked?
Well,
I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's a good question, and I think that's what Putin is factoring in also.
Yes.
Like I think the difference between how Putin approaches shit is he's willing to have huge amount of his own people die to achieve his goals.
Yep.
So he's more like a butcher. You know what I mean? And but he's still counting the numbers. He's still counting the numbers. How many bullets, like you said, how many tanks, how many jets, how many people, military personnel do you have? And who's going to align with you? How many troops can North Korea give us? How many troops can China give us? If something really breaks out, what will China do in the end? Because you never really know. And because they're all having backdoor meetings, right? So you don't really know. No one really knows, but it's getting to crunch time. Most people do not want to enter into a conflict with the U.S., EU, Russia, or China. Most people don't want that. You see what I mean? But the people that are threatened the most by either one are more likely to go, to arms if they have to. Like Vietnam, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea. If they feel like they have no other choice, they would They would defend themselves. They don't have a problem doing that. But if you're not involved in that conflict yourself, then there's a lot of countries that aren't. They may not want to support either group. You see what I mean? They may just want to sit back. And Putin's also calculating that too. China's also calculating that. The EU is calculating that.
Well. China's a big player, right?
Exactly.
China itself, if Russia makes another move, do we think China doesn't make its move for Greater China as well?
Well, as far as manpower, it's got a lot of people. It's got a big military manpower wise. So if they want to throw a lot of bodies at it, like Putin doesn't have anywhere near. Russia had 150 million people before this war started. They lost 1 million just in invading Ukraine, 1 million soldiers just in invading Ukraine. So bad that they have to get soldiers from North Korea, right? To participate in other parts of the world. Okay. But they're a superpower that had to do that. Ukraine's not even a superpower. So when you look at that, sure, Ukraine had foreign legion there, helping them, but they're not a superpower. Russia's the one who invaded too. So it goes to show you that Putin doesn't care about the amount of bodies. But the question will become, does China? What does China really do? Is China going to look at this as we got 1 million bodies to give you? We got 2 million to give you. Why not? Why not? Why don't we pass a law that says Chinese citizens can join the Russian military to fight in this conflict? Why don't, what if they do something like that? I mean, would they do it? Nobody knows. Nobody really knows. And at the end of the day, it will be the EU. If you have US and you got the EU split, well, then the US only has 350 million people or less. Europe has 450 million people, somewhat or less, right? I don't know, man. This doesn't seem like, it seems like a big waste of energy. To me.
It does.
To me, man.
Right? But also, like even with the US, right? We have the largest Navy, the largest Army, right? Like military is where the US thrives, right? We have the largest Navy when combining we account for first, second, third, and fourth. Right. And then the next country over comes into when it comes to Navy, right? Same thing with Army, right? We have the top 2 land forces, right? So America is built for war. It was built on war, right? Russia is using yesteryear's weapons, right? But it could also allow for a conflict that we're already involved in Iran, right? Yeah. It could allow for a conflict for China again to go for Greater China, right? Taiwan, whatever that looks like in terms of China's expansion, right? Because everyone else is at conflict, right? And America can only be stretched so thin, right? And I think that's something that, the world is now realizing that, the world has been uber dependent on the U.S. arms and on the U.S. being that, that savior that now when Trump comes in with his isolationist rhetoric and poor military planning, conflict like this,
they created a little vacuum, that people have to fill.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. He did something that is that's not advantageous to the allies. It wasn't in their interest that he did that. It's one thing to warn them. It's one thing to talk to them. They're your allies. You're in a motherfucking union with them. You're in NATO. and yet you instead of cooperate with them to get those goals met, he just turned his back on them. Like, well, you're gonna have to do it now. Fuck it. It's like
now alone.
And now alone.
Look at Iran, right? Look at Iran, right? Yeah. Instead of finding, and taking his time in terms of a comprehensive plan, he allowed Israel to dictate it, and now it's essentially, a U.S. and Israel war when it could have been, with NATO support.
Right.
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 So now when we look at this, right now, it also leaves us at a disadvantage because you hear him crying to the NATO members, saying, we give the most money, we give the most arms, no one's going to help us.
Right.
I'm going to cut funding to NATO. I'm going to separate us from NATO, right? All that isolationist rhetoric, when initially he should have been partnering with the NATO neighbors to be able to have that conversation about what would a conflict look like in Iran and how can they support and building up to that support. But instead, obviously he followed straight up with, the backing of Israel going into Iran, right? Which now again leaves America at a standstill when it comes to conflict, right? We've wasted all of our, a good amount of our ammunition, right? And the ones that we do have are essentially maintaining the bases across the world, right? Because now you don't want to leave these bases without certain defenses in order for them to be weakened, right? So
Exactly. And they're going to pinpoint.
They-
I mean, they even have the logistics down to that microscopic
That's
point.
exact-
So they,
yeah.
it's not just a matter of what your overall ammunition is. It's where is it lowest though?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Not just the overall number. What specific place, military base, is it lowest in Asia, or is it lowest in the Middle East, or is it lowest in Europe? Eastern Europe. It's but pretty much everyone has said that the way Trump has gone about this was not advantageous to the U.S. or NATO. It was at our disadvantage. People begged him not to do it this way, and he did it anyway. And he's not going to turn back, obviously. Just like his U.S. policy, he's not going to turn back. He wants to have the election shut down, so he's going to ask the Supreme Court to do it, even though people say that's nutty. That goes completely against democratic rights.
But you know what could justify that?
Yeah.
Wartime.
Wartime,
right? Boots on the ground, right? So,
and guess who can help him
even
achieve
before
that?
Iran.
Guess who can help him achieve
Yes,
that?
exactly.
Putin, another authoritarian. Exactly. So don't ever forget, plenty of people have seen this play out before in history when two groups acting like their adversaries are really actually working together behind the scenes to get other people killed, to create chaos so that smaller groups of people fight each other and die, so that then the two groups that started the conflict can pick up all the assets later. Authoritarians helping each other.
Yep.
Basically, but I think people are in for a big surprise. What I've noticed is that a lot of Americans, they don't really know the logistics on Europe. They don't know much about anything about Europe, the EU. They don't know the population size when you talk to them. They don't know the economic size when you talk to them. They don't know what their military capabilities look like, right? They don't know what their tax system looks like. All they know is generalizations, just blanket generalizations. You're going to pay more taxes in Europe. They don't know that, but you actually, more of the money you pay in taxes actually goes. It's a higher percentage that goes towards things, the individual or the communities, not like in the U.S., less of the taxes you pay actually go to things in your community in the U.S. So Americans often don't know how to weigh this situation out. A lot of them favor Putin sometimes. When they look at the map, they look at the map like this and they say, wow, Russia's fucking big, man. Look how big Russia is. And they don't realize Russia only has 150 million people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? To defend that whole fucking thing. And their economy before this war was the size of Italy's.
Yep. No, it is the truth, right?
That matters
on an
also.
Economic level, they've also suffered, right? And so even when we look at that, I think, even with this, we'll definitely see how the U.S. either supports NATO or backs off of, these talks and what that conflict potentially looks like.
Yeah.
We'll see how strong the relationship between China and Russia is.
Yeah.
And we'll also see how strong the relationship is within the EU countries, right? Who's willing to support who overwhelmingly, who's not going to step in, right? And this is what happens when you have isolationist rhetoric, right? It creates conflict on a global level that now spreads that sentiment. Right. First, it's make America great again. Then it's insert whatever country make this country great again. And what
Right.
that means is isolationist rhetoric, anti-immigration rhetoric, right? Where
Right.
it's like, oh, you know what? We're supposed to be our people first. Let's not join this war.
Make
I'm
this
not going to support
ethnicity
this war.
make this ethnicity great again.
Yes.
Yeah, and not
And
the
so
others.
it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out in terms of the collectiveness and what this looks like in terms of who's going to overwhelmingly support who. Can this support help NATO overall in terms of unifying the EU, or will it create, isolationist sentiments as well, right? And how China chooses to take this. Are they going to take the offensive in terms of starting their own conflict as well to take advantage of, the conflict globally?
Hmm.
Or are they going to overwhelmingly support Russia even more to continue its potential two-front war, right? And eventually it will lead, if conflict gets big enough, the U.S. will need to put boots on the ground somewhere, right? And that's enough to circumvent, or at least put something in the air in terms of circumventing elections. I think that's the bigger plot. But go ahead, B.
Yeah, yeah. Now, once again, I just want to let people know the panel link is open. Anybody can hop up. It's through the Discord app, and you can come up and speak directly. There's loads of people that are in the chat, you know what I'm saying? But there's more people that just watch and don't even see the chat. So if you have some important information that you think others that listen might want to know that we're not aware of, feel free to hop on up and join the conversation. It's not a private conversation, and I don't have to know you personally. In fact, I encourage people to hop up so we can know who you are, so we can get more information, and we can qualify some of your statements, like asking, where are you from? What town did you grow up in? This kind of stuff, so we could hear your voice, so we can know, these kind of small things. But in any case, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And amazing they would have thought no one would have noticed. I mean, anybody who was up in the early hours of the night saw it on the Flight Radar Twitter feeds that this plane was going in. All right, Lara, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and all this fantastic reporting that you shared with us. I want to go out front now to Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, because he's on the House Armed Services Committee, served 4 tours of duty in Iraq with the Marines, and is now running for U.S. Senate. So, Congressman, you hear Lara Seligman's new reporting there, and she's got a lot of detail. So what do you make of it? The conversation we're having is that John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, goes to Moscow, and what does it say to you that he would go, if it's for this reason, to warn Putin about a NATO attack, that Ratcliffe chose to do that now, this rose to that level, and that Putin didn't actually meet with him? What does all this mean to you?
Well, Aaron, as you pointed out, this is nothing routine at all. And so it suggests to me that this is a serious emergency. And it's yet another example of how the Trump administration fundamentally puts our national. And it's yet another example of how the Trump administration, this is a serious emergency, and at all. And so it suggests to me that this is a serious emergency. And it's yet another example of how the Trump administration fundamentally puts our national security at risk every single day. The conservative guy, Glenn Beck, says Putin might want to test NATO's resolve, but fundamentally, what Putin might want to do is test Trump's resolve, because a lot of people question Trump's resolve when it comes to standing up to our NATO allies. He's repeatedly undermined our NATO allies. A lot of people question Trump's resolve when it comes to standing up to Putin himself, because he's always praising Putin, blaming Zelensky for war criminal Putin's criminal war in Ukraine.
Exactly. How else could you see the scenario? How could you see this as strength? With all the shit that Trump says and does, why would anyone in their right mind see the U.S. CIA, head of the CIA, fly on a military airplane to Russia to meet? What is that all about? What is that all about? So you do all the work to go warn someone? You could have just picked up the fucking phone. What is this? What is this? Obviously, there's more going on. There had to be a physical exchange. Whatever it is, it had to be physical. It had to be face to face, or it had to be hand to hand. It couldn't be done over the internet or the telephone. You see what I mean? It couldn't be done by satellite. It had to happen face to face, physically. You see what I mean? So it's definitely very, very important, but you don't give someone this kind of credit by showing up to give them a warning. Listen, is Vladimir Putin home? I want to give you a warning. Like, what the fuck is this? Goddamn Beach Street or something? Like, what the fuck? This is goddamn colors and shit. People showing up personally and shit. I need to go inform Putin. Let me show up. Knock, knock. Is Putin at home? So let me talk to Putin's mama. When is Putin getting out of school? What the fuck?
Well, B, but that goes to show.
Is Putin down at the liquor store? I heard Putin was on the basketball court. Let me go find him. I got to tell his ass something. This is important. I'm going to tell him off in front of everybody, personally. It's like, what the fuck?
And only for him not to meet with them, right? Yeah. And again, we only know these details because it was leaked. This is also another reason why they wanted it in person and not over the phone, because they wanted to ensure whatever that conversation was about didn't get copied, right? Didn't get recorded.
Oh, that too. Yeah. They get to meet face to face, and it doesn't get copied. Whatever they said face to face doesn't get copied, and he gets to snub the CIA director at the same time. Yep. I mean, it's like, how could you be any more weaker? How could you be any more weaker? Look,
but he knows the position, right?
Yeah.
Putin knows the position that the U.S. is in. He doesn't have to bargain with us because guess what? We're fighting a conflict on our own, right? Again, it's hypocritical to tell.
He got videotapes.
I mean, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt.
He knows where this is going with Trump.
But it's hypocritical. It's hypocritical for him to for the U.S. to tell Russia not to do something when we've already started multiple conflicts within the past 2 years. But
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Trump just willingly walked into those conflicts. Yay, let me go invade Venezuela. Let me go oppress Cubans now. Let me go and bomb Iran and talk about them like we can just bomb them all into hell. And the world will look at us like we're the good guys in a conflict, right? Wrong. Yep. Wrong. And sometimes that little advantage is exactly what you need in the outcome. That's exactly what determines the outcome sometimes. Yeah. I feel sorry for people because this could go anywhere. This is like dominoes. This could go anywhere. This could go and I'm going to tell you where it often goes is where the poor people are. Somehow, magically, where death often goes is where the poor people are, because secretly a lot of superpowers really just want to kill the poor people off. You know what I'm saying? Like secretly, it's that kind of privilege. Like, they're the easiest to kill. They're the easiest to move around. They're the easiest to push around. And when, it's either the superpowers go against each other or they find a way to make it happen where the poor people are and let the poor people kill each other off. So the air can get fresher, more fresh air for everybody else, more fresh water for everybody else. Yeah. Anyway, let's see.
So there are really legitimate concerns about the resolve of the president of the United States, and that's dangerous for us and for our allies.
I want to play something else that Trump said in that same interview with Glenn Beck about the supreme leader in Iran, who obviously hasn't been seen, as you know, Congressman, since he formally assumed power. And let me just check here to make sure we all understand. That was about 6 months ago, okay? But here's Trump to Glenn Beck.
I don't think he's dead. He was very seriously wounded at the left side of his body. The arm, the leg, the whole thing. He was very seriously wounded, but I don't think he's dead.
So those comments, Congressman, come as The Economist has some really important new reporting. They are saying that there are new billboards showing up in Tehran, and on the billboards, and in the billboards there, I've seen them when they put really, really big. And these apparently show 7 men who have taken power in Iran since Khamenei was killed. And 7 people, okay? The billboard calls the men. So on the billboard, it says top of the country's security and defense. So you'd say, okay, these massive billboards are going up, 7 guys, top of the country, and it says so on there. But the supreme leader is not on there. He is actually not one of the 7, according to The Economist reporting, which is incredible. What does this tell you?
It tells me that Iran has a more military-controlled regime, and that probably makes them more effective at standing up to Trump's war. And so, frankly, it's not a surprise that Iran would have a more military-focused leadership when they've been so effective at controlling the entire world economy here through this war that Trump started and has totally backfired. I mean, to connect these two things, let's not forget that Trump promised he would end the Ukraine war on day 1. He's now promised about 40 different times that the Iranians are begging to come to the negotiating table and they're going to end the Iran war. He hasn't fulfilled any promise to end wars. He's done nothing but start wars on his watch. And the wars are backfiring on him, and it's incredibly dangerous for our national security.
All right, do me a favor. If you haven't clicked the like button, click the like button. It's how more people are going to find the stream and the conversation we're having later and even right now. So if you're really cool, click the like button. And if you're super duper cool, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. That's also going to send the message and the alert out to other people. Now, let me see. Secular Talk had some information about this. I just want to check in with them real quick before we get over to other news. There's also the story of the head chief justice of the United States of America, the Supreme Court, actually having protesters showing up to his little private island resort where he gets to hang out with the rich folk. Like, seriously, this is what's happening now. I'm so happy Americans are starting to wake up. Like, so happy. You pay them well. You pay them well. They don't need the health care that you can't afford. You could barely afford Medicaid and Medicare. Shit. You pay these people so well, they get the top of the line health care. Has nothing to do with Medicaid and Medicare. They get top notch and their family. Why? Because you pay them with your hard-earned tax dollars that you slave over every day you go out to work. You pay them well. But they don't think so well of you. Unfortunately, they don't seem to want to guarantee your easy right to vote anymore, you know? But in any case, let's see what Secular Talk is saying about this topic. Let's go.
Some pretty ominous and spooky news that dropped the other day that I wanted to share with you. Apparently, the head of the CIA made a secret and emergency visit to Russia. And this is raising eyebrows all across the world. So let me go ahead and play this for you. This is ABC News. Let's see what they have to say.
Sources tell ABC News CIA Director John Ratcliffe is in Moscow for meetings. A flight tracking service shows a U.S. Air Force plane originating from Joint Base Andrews flying into Moscow. And now a source says Ratcliffe ABC News was CIA on that Director flight. Our Marcus Moore is here with the details. Marcus, nice to have you here in person from Andrews London. Flying into Moscow. So walk us through what we know so far.
Yeah, good to be with you, Diana. So we know that this plane, a U.S. military aircraft, departed Maryland, Joint Base Andrews, and then it landed in Riga for a stop, and then finally at Vnukovo Airport in Moscow. As you just noted, we know from government officials, or from officials, I should say, that the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, was on the flight and that he is in Moscow for meetings. And so that's what we know at this point for sure. The big question now is, what are these meetings? What are they about? And we simply don't know at this point. Obviously, the war in Ukraine is still ongoing. We know that the former CIA director, William Burns, made a trip before the war even started back in 2021 to try to get Vladimir Putin not to start that war. So the CIA was involved in that. And we also know that the CIA has also been involved in some prisoner exchanges. But we don't know if that's the case right now.
What's the Russian government saying about this?
Nothing. The Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, was asked about this. He said he had no information to share. So we're not hearing anything from the Russians on exactly what this is about.
And what do we know about Russia's military operations right now?
They're continuing. And actually both sides, both Ukraine and Russia, carrying out strikes against each other. Ukraine has managed to hit targets deep inside Russia, and that's notable because they've been hitting oil-producing facilities, and Russia has had to shut down some of those facilities, and it's caused a bit of a fuel crisis in Russia. In fact, in Moscow and parts of St. Petersburg recently, there have been gas lines, people trying to get fuel. There's also been rationing fuel. So there is a real sense that Ukraine is having some success in making ordinary Russians feel this war. This, of course, is something that the Ukrainians have been enduring now for well over 4 years, Diane, still. no end in sight to this war.
So what are you listening for as we wait to hear more about what Ratcliffe is doing there?
So we'll wait to see, obviously, what this is about. Certainly, there's been chatter that perhaps it could be about a prisoner exchange, but we just simply don't know. Of course, a lot of people are hoping that perhaps this could be a signal that the negotiations on ending the war in Ukraine are perhaps making some progress, because I can tell you that right now those talks have really been stalled, and people are suffering in Ukraine. Obviously, as you know, the loss of life and really the disruption to everyday life has continued there. So we'll look for those tea leaves, as it were, but still a lot of questions about what this is actually about.
Okay, so this was alluded to in that clip there, but CIA Director John Ratcliffe was on board the U.S. Air Force C-17A Globemaster that landed early Tuesday at Moscow's Vnukovo Airport in order to attend several high-level meetings with Russian officials. Last time that a CIA director made an unannounced surprise visit to Moscow was late in 2021, when Director Burns traveled there to warn Russian leadership against launching an invasion of Ukraine. This entire trip is slightly concerning and a bit ominous, all things considered. Yeah, so in other words, there was a big, globe.
Okay, so that qualifies some more. We heard earlier about the last time a U.S. CIA director went on an unannounced surprise visit to Moscow was late 2021, and it was to do what? It was when Director Burns traveled there to warn Russian leadership against launching an invasion of Ukraine. Right. That was in the beginning of the Biden administration. That invasion happened. The United States helped supply Ukraine with some weaponry, defense weaponry, because Russia defied that warning. And now Trump is doing business with Russia, even though Russia defied that warning. I mean, what type of U.S. president just goes against totally something on this level against the prior president or prior administration? You didn't see Obama do that, right? Obama didn't get into office and start talking down about George Bush, even if he didn't agree 100% with George Bush. He didn't do that. You see what I mean? So this kind of stuff is really comes along with Trump. You don't necessarily, when you're a leader, play your entire hand, show your entire hand up front. So even if you didn't like what George Bush did and you were Obama, you wouldn't necessarily say that, right? Because now you're letting others know outside of your country more about your thinking. Right, that may come back to haunt you later. Right, it's called projecting. So real intelligent leaders don't project. They don't do that. You find out that actually Biden didn't really like Netanyahu at all either. There's a lot of things like this that go on, but some people, you wouldn't know it necessarily by how Biden speaks because he didn't talk that much. You see what I mean? And he definitely didn't talk about whatever his disturbances were. He left that to his inner cabinet to have those conversations together, But in any case, Trump is out there and he's going totally against the Biden administration. Totally. Everyone knew that because at least Trump spoke honestly and openly about it. He said, I'm going against Obama on Ukraine. I'm going to stop funding Ukraine. The EU better start making its own weapons. He made a number of pronouncements. So at least some of this stuff isn't a surprise. But it's just worth noting that the last time the warning was totally different. What's the warning about now? Trump is saying that the warning is the same. But is the warning the same? Is it the same? Or is it just for the sake of looking like you're carrying out the same policy? Like, what did they call that? A paper warning. I guess you call it a paper tiger warning, just to pretend like you're still kind of, down with NATO when you're really not.
An invasion of Ukraine. This entire trip is slightly concerning and a bit ominous, all things considered. Yeah, so in other words, there was a big, globe-altering event that occurred last time you had, like, a last-minute CIA.
Yo, Russia is helping Iran kill U.S. soldiers, and Trump hasn't said anything. Exactly. And it's the same thing what happened when the U.S. invaded Venezuela. Did you hear Putin say anything? No. Putin... You know what happened? just before the invasion, the same day Trump said, I just got off the phone talking to Putin. A reporter asked him, did you talk to Putin about Venezuela? He said, no, the conversation didn't even come up. And they invaded Venezuela. You see what I mean? So you can see these two are behind the scenes coordinating whatever destruction. And Iran might be right in the middle of it too. Listen, this is Machiavellian. This is Machiavellian, meaning you can't trust what Putin says. If Putin says, I love you, Cuba, no, he don't. If Trump says, I love you, Cuba, no, he don't. They want war to split up the proceeds. That's what they want, and they in on it together. I mean, that's my opinion. They are in on the shakedown. It takes two to shake down. It takes two to shake you down. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is Machiavellian. And so anybody needs to be on, on ready. Everybody needs to be on ready because you don't know which direction it could turn. You don't know. It's Machiavellian.
Russian government officials. So I don't know, man. That's kind of scary. Now I'll get to what one of the explanations is in a second here, but my fear is a further escalation in the war against Ukraine and perhaps Russia invading another country. That's what I fear. And let's not forget, Ukraine has been putting up a fierce fight lately where, Russia felt like it'll relatively be a cakewalk, not too dissimilar from us in Iran. Like, oh, of course we're going to beat Iran, right? And
it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. The only difference is that now you have an American president that never really wanted to win. And it's not about winning. It's about doing what your actual friend in the other country is telling you to do. It's very simple. It's playing out the way they orchestrated it to play out. That's why American soldiers are like, what the fuck is going on? Why is it turning? Why are our bases getting bombed? You mean we did something we weren't prepared to do? Why would we do that? Why do you think you would do that? It was designed that way. Very simple.
Ukraine has really held their own. Ukraine has been attacking within Moscow, by the way, going after, their oil infrastructure. It's been the war has been escalating slowly but surely, and Putin appears to be a little bit like a cornered dog. And I worry about what a guy like that does when he's in a corner. And so I don't know exactly what this meeting was about, but I fear that it's about the war escalating and spiraling further out of control. This is we are in, the whole world is sort of falling apart under Trump's leadership, where wars are spiraling out of control and escalating and getting worse. And all he does is pour fuel on the fire everywhere at the same time. But with that being said, now let me give you this. Hormuz letter says, breaking, Russian officials have briefed Iran that the CIA Director Ratcliffe's Moscow visit delivered a message with the U.S. asking Moscow to press Iran into reopening the Strait of Hormuz, warning that Russian entities would otherwise face designations under Operation Economic Outcast. Russia declined and told Iran the threatened measures were of limited consequence, according to two senior Iranian sources with knowledge of the briefing. The message also warned that Russian banks, traders, and shipping entities tied to Iranian oil, gold, and aviation will be sanctioned under the operation unless Moscow moves to close those channels. Now, let me just say I'm skeptical that this is the reason they went, because this is something you absolutely could have gotten through a back channel,
Exactly. You could do all this over the goddamn phone. Whatever happened here had to happen physically. Two human beings had to touch each other. I hate to say it that way, but that's how these motherfuckers are. They had to show up in present together to exchange whatever it is they're exchanging. Okay? It could not happen over the phone. Whatever it is they're really doing. You see what I mean? Which means they're afraid that it might get out. Because of course, think about it. If this is done in some electronic manner, if this is done telephone, if this is done through other diplomats, there's people different countries all over the world spying on these motherfuckers. You think it ain't loads of people spying on the Kremlin right now? It's loads. It is loads. And that is likely another reason why this had to happen in person. And it should make you wonder, because Putin is under threat in his own country. You know, just think about that. Just think about it. You don't have to believe me. I'm not saying believe me. I'm just saying think about it. Go out and research. Have you ever seen any media saying that Moscow has been getting bombed? Have you heard any media saying that Putin's vault has been bombed? Right? Have you heard any media stating that oligarchs have been putting pressure under Putin, like that there's a split now? Have you heard that? Have you ever heard about what's the guy, General Prigozhin? What's the dude? The armed military dude that was leading Russian militia outside of Russia actually go and try to attack Putin? Did you hear about that attack on Moscow? Did you hear that guy actually died in an airplane crash after meeting Putin? Did you hear about these things? See, you can support whoever you want, but be realistic and be real. Don't just close your ears to facts while you believe, right? So there is already a split in Russia. There's been a split, but the split is heavier now than ever. Like, Putin is despised in Russia, and it is because the Russian people are fucking tired of him. And what I mean by Russian people is it's not just the poor people anymore. It's not just the poor people, which is the masses. It's not just them anymore. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, so while dude is doing all this shit with the CIA, why the fuck is the CIA over there giving him a fucking meeting? This man is in trouble in his own country. You think you can defend yourself? You think you're safe going in there? That was stupid. That was stupid. And he had the nerve to ask Ukraine, we're coming in here, so please don't bomb us. Motherfucker, there could be other people trying to take out Putin. You dumbass. You ever think of that? Hello? Like, really, this is crazy, man. This
Fucking
is crazy.
phone call. Like, you didn't have to fly. The CIA leader didn't need to go all the way to Moscow to go, can you please put some pressure on Iran to open the strait? By the way, if that is what happened, oh my days. This country is so barbecued. It is so over. We are so weak. We are so, like, beaten down. I mean, if this is the real reason, that's somehow even more embarrassing. And to stipulate that is true here for a second, for argument's sake, the U.S. is basically committing empire suicide, right? Because we're going to sanction anybody and everybody who has any ties to these countries, bro. We're going to crack down on you financially. And it's like, bro, I hate to tell you, people are already running away from the dollar at 1,000 miles an hour because the U.S. is not a stable partner anymore who's good to their word. And you're only speeding up the process of the abandonment of the dollar as the world reserve currency. You're only speeding up that process. That's why people are dumping the dollar. They're picking up gold. Like, we are just a nation that is an embarrassment at this point. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. You can't trust any deal you make with us at any point in time. And so I'm skeptical that this is the reason. But if this is the reason, Iran has Trump so thoroughly cucked that we're reduced to hopping on a flight and basically begging Russia to put pressure on Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz. Oh my days, bro. Oh no. I don't think you guys really fully understand, like, what this means for this country.
Yeah, even the official story is fucking pathetic. Even the official story is just pathetic. It's like, if you're to believe that, it's like, wow. So basically, you're saying that you couldn't handle Iran, but you decided to launch a war against them, but you couldn't handle it, and now you need Russia's help, and they're saying, no, that's the official story? That's the official story. You went over to beg them for something, and they said, no, it ain't going to happen? That's the official story. I mean, who could do it worse? Who could do it worse? Could Hillary do it worse? No, because people were scared of her, calling her a war hawk. Trump is not a fucking war hawk. Could Obama do it worse? I doubt it. I doubt it. Could Biden do it worse? You didn't see Biden over there kissing fucking Putin's ass. Like, what's going on? You know, their strategy, Biden's strategy, basically put fucking Putin in fear. Yeah, it did, and a lot of people think it wasn't bold enough, but it was definitely one Americans should pay more attention to, because it was the slow grind. You see what I mean? One where you don't have to send U.S. military troops. You can just supply the Ukrainians with some weapons, right? Without going overboard, without using up all your ammunition and all your stock. So you can't engage in no war if you have to. He didn't do it like Trump did it with Iran, is what I'm saying. And that's a fact. Yo, you want to say something about this, bro, before we move on to the next topic?
I want to mention the fact that you were referring to Yevgeny Prigozhin, which was the head of Wagner Group.
Exactly. Yes. And he
did get killed because he got pretty close, and then they had talks in Belarus because he escaped. He left after it was a failed coup, and then when he was flown back to Russia for talks with Putin on his way leaving back to Belarus, his plane just so happened to be hit by a missile that no one knows where or who that missile, quote unquote, was from.
Yeah, what a coincidence. Bad luck, right? I guess that's just bad luck. That's what happens when you piss Putin off. Yep. He doesn't do anything. You just get thrown out a window or some shit. Oops. Exactly. You got bad luck. A case of bad luck. What the fuck? I mean, he didn't know he was going to die. He didn't know he was going to die.
He didn't. He thought he had so much leverage on a patriotic level because a lot of people from within the army and within Wagner Group, which is their biggest private military, supported Yevgen. So he thought that support alone would have Putin's second guess killing him, and Putin didn't second guess.
Bro. Yeah.
And that obviously dropped some morale and some sentiment when it came down to his army, but they're busy with the conflict already, so he just dismissed it and kept it pushing. But when it comes to this, I do think that it is interesting that this was in private. These are leaks. Whatever we know is a leak. It's a leak from the highest intel office in the CIA. Yeah. Someone in the CIA said, "Holy shit, let's go tell a news group about this meeting that we're having in Russia," right?
Yeah.
And now it's
somebody was like, let's do the old monkey wrench. Let's do the old monkey wrench. Throw a monkey wrench in this monkey's fucking bullshit.
Yep. What the fuck? And maybe it's because they didn't like what they heard in that meeting, right? Or what they heard about it, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because they were like, "Wait, hold on."
Congratulations to whoever that is. Bravo. Well played. Right? Well played. Yes. Eric, you there?
Yeah, hey guys.
It's some funny shit. Yeah, well played. Well played. Yeah, man. Bro. Thank God for the fighters. Yeah. Thank God for the fighters.
But yeah, I do think it's very interesting. And again, like I said before, it's very interesting to see how all of this is going to play out on a global level, because again, all this is something that is essentially global, right? It's involving
global.
The U.S., it's involving, Russia, potentially the EU, while we're still facing a conflict on our own, while we're still economically trying to suffocate Cuba, right? And we haven't heard anything about Chavez as well. Let's just remember that he's been in the custody of the U.S. for quite some time already, and we have heard nothing about it. Right? He's just being held, right? We know nothing, right?
Well, Chavez is Venezuelan. He's Venezuelan, and he's the leader of a party. You know what I'm saying? And this party,
or Maduro or any of that stuff.
Yeah. They have Chavez. I'm sorry, Maduro. I meant Maduro. He's the leader of a party, right? Yeah. And this party has roots in Venezuela also. I mean, this is a Venezuelan issue. Well, there's different parties. His vice
president is the current president, is the current acting president, so the party didn't even change.
Right, but
it's the same regime.
Yeah, but it didn't look to me like Maduro was worried about shit. when he got locked
No,
up.
I mean it doesn't. Yeah,
He's
it doesn't.
not,
It didn't look like that.
exactly, because he knows a lot, and his movement. I mean, not his movement, but his party is strong. They're very strong. They've been around for a while. So, and on top of it, they fucking hate pigs like Trump. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
There's
and,
an extra.
it
There's an
looks-
extra
it looks
hatred
like
there.
It looks like Putin feels empowered, Master V. I mean,
Yep.
it's probably the same scenario that happened shortly after, Trump lost last time, where Biden won, and I think Putin kind of panicked. He was already probably going anyways. He just thought Trump was going to hand Ukraine, to
Right.
the Russians.
And he definitely ain't want Kamala. He don't want no women vengeance.
Yeah, instead he had to make his move.
Yeah.
So now he's realizing that not only is the Middle East weakened, but he's kind of got this Iran to back him up in case anything happens. So it looks like maybe he wants to take on NATO now and see just how tough these other countries are.
Right. Yeah, you never know. I don't think it's going to work, however, but I think, because a lot of these countries, they might ally with Russia for certain reasons, and you might even hear certain propaganda, but they're not playing that Cold War shit anymore. They're not stupid. They already know that, what you need is you need diverse partners. That's what you need. And if you just narrow yourself down to Russia, they could run out of support to give you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a logistics battle. You know what I'm saying? And so I think I don't see it the same way anymore. I don't see it as a Cold War scenario anymore. Even the situation. But go ahead.
One weird thing that recently happened is Iran put a bounty on Baron Trump's head,
right?
And they're saying that they're saying openly that they're tracking his movements. So clearly they're starting to stick their chest out.
Yeah.
And it seems like this trip to Russia was to kind of find out where Russia is with Iran exactly.
It could be something about Baron Trump. It could be. You're right.
Right.
It could be.
Exactly. I think Trump and them are panicking a little bit because say things don't work out here, then they got to go somewhere else. Are they going to even be safe over there?
Well, I give Iranians, Venezuelans more credit than I give Putin, for sure. No question about it. And I that's me personally. And just how they view things. Look, Iranians, they were willing to work with the U.S. Right? They were willing to work with the U.S. It's not Iranians that said they didn't want to work with the U.S. They they made a deal with the U.S. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, they also know that I think they're clever enough, and Venezuela, they're clever enough to know that you don't have to agree on everything to work with people. There are limits even to your partners. When you partner up on certain endeavors, there are still limits to it, right? And I think they're very calculated. I think they're aware of that. I think they're aware that China will support them to achieve China's goals. But that's it. Same thing with Russia. Russia will support them to achieve Russia's goals. And so Iran and Venezuela have to know what their goals are in this. You know what I mean? To really be engaged successfully. I don't think they swing east or west anymore. I think they're more clever than that now. I think people have learned from the 1960s. I think so. But in any case, I think you could be right though, Eric, about chasing around Trump's son. And look, Iran may not share all their intelligence with Russia. Russia doesn't share all of its intelligence with Iran. That's obvious, because if they did, the Ayatollah wouldn't have died. Very simple. If Russia shared all of its intelligence with Venezuela, Maduro wouldn't be locked up. You see what I'm saying? But in any case, let's continue. Let's see here. What's up, Sweet Tooth? I see you. Peace to you. All right, let's see what this is about. Clarence Thomas here. Let me see. I think it's about the new ruling.
Let's see. By Clarence Thomas on the U.S. Supreme Court because of what he just did. Glenn, can you explain what it was that Clarence Thomas just decided to come out and say?
Yeah, Brian, just when you thought the corruption at the Supreme Court couldn't get any worse, Clarence Thomas has outdone himself. He actually went on Senator Ted Cruz's podcast, and here's what he said, and I do not want to misquote him. So he told Ted Cruz, "You're one of the people who actually stands up, particularly at times when others seem to wither, and I appreciate it," Thomas said in the opening minutes of Monday's episode of Verdict with Ted Cruz. He added, "And more personally, when we, my wife and I, were under attack for obvious reasons, you and Mike Lee and some of the other friends would stand up." And Thomas said, "I really appreciate that." He basically heaped praise and appreciation on Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, and his other, quote, friends for what? For having his back, including when, his wife was getting considerable criticism for, I don't know, trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Brian,
Hold on. Let's say that again. Let me hear what he's saying.
Appreciation on Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, and his other, quote, friends for what? For having his back, including when, his wife was getting considerable criticism for, I don't know, trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Brian, justices and judges, all federal court judges, but particularly Supreme Court justices, are supposed to show no partiality, no partisanship, particularly political partisan.
So right now they're talking about Justice Thomas, right, who is not Justice Roberts, but they both are highly politicized and right-leaning and have played huge roles in this January, what is it? Is it January 6th attack on the Capitol? I believe, was it Justice Roberts? No, hold on. It wasn't his wife. It was Alito's wife, right? That had the upside down flag, right? Am I right there? Eric or Michael?
Sorry, you said what?
Yeah, was it Justice Alito's wife who had the upside down flag during January 6th riots, or was it
Robert?
It was Alito. Okay, so you got Alito, who was basically working with Trump allegedly. Then you got Clarence Thomas working with Trump allegedly. Clarence Thomas took a trip to Moscow to Putin. I mean to Russia actually, a private trip where no American police agency went with him. Nobody knows. He went with a billionaire, a U.S. millionaire, on a yacht trip to St. Petersburg, Russia. Nobody knows what that was about. That's a Supreme Court justice. So we have all of these justices. We got many of them that are corrupt, but we also have Chief Justice. This is Roberts right here, right? Involved in the same types of corruption scandals. But I just wanted to say that just to give some context. Now let's hear more here.
And not only and judges, all federal court judges, but particularly Supreme Court justices, are supposed to show no partiality, no partisanship, particularly political partisanship. And not only is it important and part of the judicial code of ethics, which I know are only discretionary, they're mere suggestions to Supreme Court justices, but they are mandatory for all other federal court judges. You should not only actually be partial to one side or another, to one political party or another, you should show no actual partisanship. You have to avoid even the appearance of partisanship. And when he is lavishing praise and thanks on Senator Ted Cruz and Mike Lee and his other friends, presumably other senators, for standing up for him when, he was getting considerable criticism thrown at him for what? Well, let's remind our viewers. Taking a $250,000 mobile home from a Republican billionaire donor, having his mother's home renovated on the dime of, a Republican billionaire donor, having his de facto son, I believe a nephew who he was raising as a son, put through private school, yes, on the dime, once again, of a Republican billionaire donor. all pretense of impartiality.
All while you pay them a salary that allows them to have the best private insurance, healthcare insurance the country has to offer. All while you pay them a salary where they have the best life you could have in the U.S. So, I mean, really, they have a lavish life, outside of the gifts. Maybe not lavish, but they have what would you call it? Upper class, right? They have an upper class life, and then that's before the gifts, right? What do the Supreme Court judges get paid outright? Maybe upper class. How can I say that? Because that makes it sound like they get $1 million, and they don't get $1 million a year. What do they get? Like 200,000, something like that. 250,000. Let me see. How much do SCOTUS get paid in salary?
You hear me?
Huh?
It's around 320K.
Okay, so it's more than that. So yeah, it's upper class. For one person, you could do a lot with 320K year after year after year after year. Yeah, you definitely are going to be living in the nice part of town. For example, if you live in DC.
Did you want to go over the Ted Cruz interview? I could link it in the chat.
Yeah, do that. Send it to me. Put it in the chat. Yeah, please do that. Okay. Yeah, this is crazy, man. So, but this is all coming up to something because they actually tried to limit. They just made a ruling that comes close to allowing Trump to limit the mail-in ballots. So these are the judges, the corrupt ones. These are the ones that are involved in these kind of erroneous rulings, which are anti-democratic. Like no one else in a Western country would even be having this conversation. Yet they're doing this weeks before the election. And when you have a Supreme Court that is acting like, oh, sure, we'll hear that. They should have never gone against the lower court, the lower court's rulings, but they literally went against the lower court's ruling. It's who does that? Why not just stay the fuck out of it? Problem solved. Now they created an emergency when there's an election 1 month away. What are you trying to do? Why would you even waste your precious time on it as a Supreme Court? What is the point? Yeah, so it's going to be a surprise to find out. The point is an uncriminal, uncorrupt Supreme Court would not even have gone against the lower court's rulings, which was to stop it. This court could actually rule in favor of Trump, and that's the crazy part about it. And that means you may not have mail-in ballots this midterm election. May not. Although there's some pushback, and we're going to get into that. But let's see here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Here it is.
Honorable Justice Clarence Thomas. Justice, welcome.
It's linked in the YouTube chat.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Perfect. Huh?
The interview, the Ted Cruz interview with Clarence is linked in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, it's here. It's up on the screen. I got it now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, let's go. Here we go.
Be called incomparable. Let me call lots of things.
Well,
Thank you.
I really appreciate your joining us. I think this is the first podcast you've ever done.
I have no idea. I think so. I don't normally do any sort of, I don't do much media type thing. So, but you're you. I mean, I've known you now, 30 years.
Yeah.
And seen you through different phases in your life as a law clerk, hanging out in my chambers, as the SG of Texas, and now senator. So it's been a long journey. And also, it's also an opportunity to say you're one of the people who actually stands up, particularly at times when others seem to wither. And I appreciate.
So tearing down democracy is what they call stand up. So the people that are fighting against them ripping away your civil rights, those are not the people standing up. It's the people that are allowing it that are the folks standing up.
Appreciate it. And more personally, when my wife and I were under attack for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
You and Mike Lee and some of the other friends of.
You mean January 6th? His wife, this man's wife, is basically one of the people that was an insider on January 6th. Insider. had inside information, was communicating about the event in advance about it happening. His wife. So this is the ultimate level of corruption, Clarence Thomas. This is horrible. This is horrible. If you don't think a black man, and obviously you know this, if you have any brains, if you don't think a black man can be just as scrupulous as anybody else, Clarence Thomas is the proof. He is the proof. He is scrupulous. Like, this man, there's just nothing there, man. There's nothing there, no ethics there.
The Supreme Court justices
sellout.
have sit-downs with known senators, known Republican or even Democrat senators. This never happens.
He's supposed to be impartial. He's supposed to be impartial, even about his own events. He just opened this interview up talking about, thank you when my wife was under attack. Man, you're not even supposed to be on the bench if you're saying shit like that.
Yes.
It's
That's
pathetic,
what
bro. This man is pathetic, bro. He's a sellout. Like, he just come and give him the money is basically what it looks like. He will sell out anything. And it's worth noting that Sasha Riley says in his interviews, I don't know how many of you know who Sasha Riley is, but you should just Google Sasha Riley. He's a military veteran that said when he was 8 years old, between the ages of 8 and 12, Epstein and Trump were trafficking him and other young children. And he describes the events that happened to him for 4 years as a child. Right? He describes it in gruesome detail. And he mentions some senators. He mentions this dude, a Supreme Court justice. He says Clarence Thomas was at these events. That the same places where these things were happening on the same days, Clarence Thomas was around in the party. He doesn't know if he participated, but he's saying he was definitely there at these private, highly private events where a kid could be killed, a kid could be assaulted, animals could be killed. I mean, they were just doing all types of crazy shit that rich people do, including assault children, like straight up on camera. It's reported in Sasha Riley's interviews that a child was killed on camera, like straight up. So if you want to know why he's doing strange stuff, you might want to ask, does Putin control Clarence Thomas? Because Clarence Thomas is said to have been in the same places people were at talking about Putin. Like, Sasha Riley says people at these parties were discussing Putin like he was a great guy. Straight up. At these same parties. And this guy went to Russia without any U.S. police service with him. There is no police service in the United States that can testify to what Clarence Thomas was doing in Russia. Who he met with, where he went, no one. And this man is a sitting Supreme Court justice. Like, you think you're going to get justice out of that? Like, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But here he is colluding, letting you know his political. And why do you think, Michael, he's desperate right now? Like, because why is he letting it? I mean, even though everyone knew he's a hack. Yeah.
I think he's emboldened, right? He knows he will serve for a life term, right? And very rarely, if ever, have we ever impeached a Supreme Court justice, right? I mean, he would definitely.
So if they keep him on the bench, so you think he's doing this all for his own greed?
Yeah. Yes, I solely do.
But what if he loses the bet? What if he loses the bet?
What's the worst? How old is he? He just stopped serving? Like,
right?
They still have a majority, right? The conservatives will still have a majority, right?
Okay.
So for him, this is his. He knows he's in his golden years. Who knows what his physical health is? We have no clue, right? But we do know he's in his golden years, right? And he's also empowered because he's seeing the power. That's also another thing, right? Trump has utilized the Supreme Court like his personal tool, and maybe a Supreme Court justice like a Clarence Thomas and some of these conservatives are feeling more powerful than ever.
Right.
Right? When before it would be rare for these things to even reach their desk, but now they're being asked to rule case after case after case. And a person like Clarence Thomas is probably feeling emboldened. He's probably feeling empowered, right?
Okay.
Be it as that, regardless of even if he gets kicked off, they still have a conservative majority who will serve for life,
Right.
right? For life. This isn't like, 20 years. This is for life, however long these guys live, And that's why we need terms on Supreme Court justices, right? For people like Clarence Thomas, who clearly, blatantly align themselves with the Republican Party by even stepping on a public platform to be interviewed.
They need a
by
coon. They need a coon, because he replaced he replaced her. What is it, Marshall? Right, Thurgood Marshall.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
Thurgood Marshall was the black civil rights icon that became a Supreme Court justice, and when he passed away, is that what happened? He passed away, right?
Yeah. He passed.
Then Clarence Thomas would be the coon version of Justice Marshall, the black person that would go against the civil rights movement, and he has, and but also he's also was accused of sexual harassment by his longtime assistant, right, Anita Hill. There was a congressional hearing about that. So, I mean, this guy has never how can I say this? Has never had the reputation of not wanting to drink, scotch with the big boys and get away, hang out with the people that get away with anything in the country, the untouchables. He's a wannabe untouchable. Yeah.
And normally they'll speak at colleges and universities, former alma maters,
right,
or the law schools and things like that. But they do not do a blatant partisan podcast or public interview. This man is bugging.
Yeah, he's bugging.
Because he's supposed to be bipartisan. He's supposed to be down the middle, right?
But that's what I'm saying. To me, it's like the fact that he's sitting here with Ted Cruz, like, it tells me he's desperate, bro. Like, scared for some reason. Like, why do you have to see, everyone knew he was a right-wing hack. Everyone knew he was in the billionaire right-wing's pocket. Everyone knew that. He didn't have to prove. But this is extreme. This is like saying, hey, please, y'all, I might go down. Please, I love you. Don't forget what I did for you. I'm going to kiss your ass. Can you please protect me? Why is this motherfucker so worried? I mean, to me, this looks like what you do when you're worried. You do this. Like,
okay,
why'd you have to do this, bro? We already knew.
I think he's just empowered. I think he's emboldened to show his face, right? I think he's emboldened, right? Because if it's fear, I just don't see how this interview helps that.
Because he's corrupt. Look, because the Democrats
have it on the back end. Look, have conversations on the back end in private, right?
He could have this conversation on the back end in private. Yes,
I'll rule, in favor with you guys if I get certain concessions in the future about, my safety.
And, I think this motherfucker is desperate. I really do. I think he is desperate because for a number of reasons. Because he is the one that's said to have been the most corrupt. Like, this dude went to Russia while being a Supreme Court justice.
Personal trips, all that.
What are you talking? Everything. He is the one that is said to be the most corrupt, and he's black.
Yeah,
I think he's worried. I think this is black man worried shit. Like, damn, he knows he's corrupt, but he wants to test it. He's like, but will they protect me because I'm black? At the end of, or will they hang me out to dry?
But then why choose like Ted Cruz's podcast? Why not just hop on Fox News where they would just, be his bestie and try to play it as soft as easy as possible? Because I just think the optics with Ted Cruz, a known senator, like a current standing senator, is insane. Like, that is so bold.
It is. That's what I'm trying to say. It's so bold. But what else could you replace so bold with? So desperate. Because who the fuck does this, bro? Like,
I don't know. This is crazy.
Everyone knows he's a fucking right-wing ass licker. Everyone knows he's in the pocket of the billionaire, the right-wing billionaires. Everybody knows he's corrupt. Everybody knows he went to Russia to visit Putin's parents' hometown. Everybody knows it. It's like everyone knows he received more money than anybody else under the table. Everyone knows it. So, I mean, it's like, to me, it seems like he feels like he is probably the black sheep to me. And he knows that as long as you that black sheep, something can happen, bro. Something can happen. Like, you better make it extra clear where you stand. Like, I don't know, man. Of course, it's just a theory. To me, it just looks, I'll put it this way. To me, it just looks desperate. Desperate. You know, he's overplaying his hand. The motherfucker already went to the Capitol building that day for no reason. Just like, why are you going to the Capitol building, dude? Unannounced. Like, just from one day to the next, out of the blue. You know? I don't know. This dude looks like he's in shake. Either they're conspiring, but this is not even conspiring. This is like showing that you know that you're worried. To me, that's what it looks like. The Capitol visit is definitely Supreme Court's conspiring, like trying to talk to Mike Johnson behind the table to know about some important cases that are coming, how they plan on ruling, or what they want, the right wing wants out of the Supreme Court. Something. I think shit is more fractured. You got leaks in the Supreme Court. You got leaks in the Congress. You got leaks in the Republicans. You got leaks in the CIA. You got leaks everywhere. So I don't think these people are sitting safe right now, man. I think they feeling the heat. Now, some of them, I also believe some of them are so delusional that they will give some fight back. Like, they some arrogant sons of bitches. You know what I'm saying? Like, excuse my language, ladies. I don't mean it that way. But these are some arrogant motherfuckers. You know, and I do believe Clarence Thomas is delusional, but he's a black man. And, you know, in the history of black men in the United States of America, the right wing, you know, they hate his black ass. You know, part of the right wing MAGA, they hate his black ass. They don't give a fuck. They don't even know what his job is. A lot of MAGA don't even know what it would be funny to see those dudes who go to these MAGA rallies and ask these questions. Ask fucking people, what do you think about Clarence Thomas? And see if they fucking know who he is. No, they don't know. I don't believe so, man. Now, the informed Republicans know who Clarence Thomas is. They know he's a right wing, you know, hack on the Supreme Court. But I think the average rank and file MAGA, man, they don't know anything about this guy, man, and they wouldn't even care. He's exposable, I think, to many, you know. But in any case, it's just a theory. It's just a theory. Should we hear some more? I mean, yeah, this motherfucker did me.
Please, let's hear some more. Eric, do you have anything to say on it?
Yeah, he just seems so relaxed, like he doesn't have a care in the world. He's probably got the easiest job in the world.
Yeah. But I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
He doesn't really. You know, he doesn't really read briefs. He doesn't really comment on the cases. He just follows what the other right wing, you know, justices do.
That's true. Yeah.
So how easy is that? Yeah. But, you know, related to his situation with the child abuse allegations, we have another rep named Andy Biggs who's recently gotten involved. He was also accused at the time of also being involved with Clarence and Jim Jordan at the time, you know, and Trump about 20 years ago. And we now have some latest allegations. Also, it's very interesting because Andy Biggs recently voted against protections for child victims of this kind of you know, stuff. Yeah, so he's kind of caught up in it right now. It clearly looks like he's probably had some past involvement, that it's starting to come out slowly,
right.
And he's been taking some actions along the way to almost protect himself.
I think these dudes are scared, bro. I think they're scared. There's something, maybe we don't know exactly what it's about, but to me, it's just, when I look at Clarence Thomas, even when he was walking in the Capitol, because, you know, sometimes when we review the footage here, we play it back slowly and hear it a few times, see it, listen, analyze the language, analyze the body language. You know, to me, he can't fool me, man. Like, he was calm, cool, collected, but not enough. You see what I mean? Not enough to fool me, bro. Not enough to fool me at all. At all. I could see he was bothered, but he is just calculated and knows this is how you got to play the game. And he should play the game because his motherfucking life is on the line. He should play the fucking game very well because his life is on the line, you know. And I just think to me, I just see a little crack in that facade, you know? And to me, I think this is another crack. Like, why are you out here with Ted Cruz? Did you really have to do that? Like, you have to thank this man publicly? Listen, man, nobody, half of MAGA doesn't give a fuck about you, dude, Clarence Thomas. Half of MAGA are so fucked up in the head, they don't give a fuck about you. They have no loyalty to you. Like, they don't know nothing about you, man. They don't know nothing about Thurgood Marshall. They don't know nothing, period. You know what I mean? And you will never get in their world. You will never get there. And why would you want to be? Why would you want to be? So I think this guy knows. He just knows from history, bro. He's black. If anybody goes down from the Epstein files, if anybody goes down for corruption, it will be him. It will be him, bro. If anybody in the United States Supreme Court goes down for any corruption, any connection with Epstein, any of that, it will be him first. He will be the one tossed to the alligators so that the others can get away. To me, that's what I think. And it sounds very crude, but, you know, hey, it is what it is. I believe that shit is real. Yeah. He got some nerves feeling calm, cool, and collective. If that's not a hoax, I think it's a hoax. But if he is feeling calm, cool, and collective, I'm like, damn, man, what country you live in, bro? Like, they throwing motherfuckers out to the alligators all the time. Why wouldn't they throw you? Who are you, Clarence Thomas? Who are you? You were just someone they could buy off, man. You think they don't throw people like that out to the lions and shit? But in any case, let's see here. Let's hear some more.
You and Mike Lee and some of the other friends would stand up, Senator Kennedy, etc.
Django.
I really appreciate that.
Justice, that is very kind of you, and especially for you to observe that I stand up in the face of criticism and attacks. That is powerful coming from you, because you're someone who knows what that's like, and has done so in a way that has been world changing. And so Justice Thomas decades ago wrote a phenomenal autobiography, My Grandfather's Son, and you told your own story, and it may be the best autobiography I've ever read. I read it at the time it came out. It inspired me, actually.
Whose library is that? Let me go back. Mass's library or his? Let's see.
Son, and you told your own story, and it may be the best autobiography I've ever read. I read it at the time it came out. It inspired me, actually. Shortly after it came out, I was at home.
Yo, Samuel Coates, you a MAGA, man? Samuel Coates said, we don't give a damn about his life. I'm like, what the yeah, thank you, man. Either way, nobody gives a goddamn about his life. You know what I'm saying? Left, right. It's like, what the... I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that comment right there. We don't give a damn about his life. I don't give a fuck about his life either, man. Fuck Clarence Thomas. Fuck him. Boo. Every American should boo his ass, and he should get hung out to dry. They should hang his black ass out to dry. That's what he fucking gets for being a corrupt fucking judge. Like, please do not spare him. Please. Please. Please.
And as it so happened, a young African-American boy came, he's probably 15, 16 years old, came by the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think,
you hear that? You got it. See, now they're going to use the black card. So when a lefty says something about racism, don't use that. Stop talking about race. But you see how Ted Cruz threw it out there? The color. As an African-American, that's supposed to make what he's doing right. That's supposed to make... Fuck that. You know, he sold African-Americans out. He sold African-Americans out. Every once in a while, there is one, you know? Like, goddamn, this is like... I mean, this is terrible. Listen to him. African-Americans. Ted Cruz hates that fucking word anyway, that term. It almost killed him to say it.
Was at home, and as it so happened, a young African-American boy came. He's probably
young African American boy.
And as it's
he's talking about Clarence Thomas too.
So happened, a young African American boy came.
Yeah, that he had to throw that boy in.
Probably 15, 16 years old, came by the house, and I think he was selling magazines or something. Knocked on the door.
Okay, he's not talking about Clarence Thomas. Fuck it, but I'm going to drag him anyway.
I struck up a conversation with him. And I went and grabbed the book and gave it to him and said, look, you should read this.
That's exact. He wanted to poison that African American young man's fucking mind. You hate that African American boy. Look, really, by giving him that Clarence Thomas coon ass fucking Django book. I mean, like, and even if you're not an African American, you should be angry. This motherfucker is a fucking corrupt judge. Like, that is who he really is. He is for the elitists, the people that don't want you to earn a living fucking wage. He supports them every fucking day. He is for the classes of America. That is who he is for. He is a real boy in their eyes. Like, seriously. And look at Ted Cruz. He knows it. Look at his face, man. He get a chance to get out there and celebrate a boy. Like, goddamn.
You may not have heard Justice Thomas's story and journey, but I hope this will inspire you. And I think for a lot of the folks who listen to the podcast or watch the podcast
and for good measure, we don't give a fuck about your podcast, Ted Cruz. Just like we don't give a fuck about Clarence Thomas' book, okay?
Some people listen to it on their phones, others watch it on YouTube or Facebook. They know who you are, but they don't know your actual.
They don't know you went to fucking Russia on a goddamn all-American billionaire's yacht while you were a Supreme Court justice without any U.S. security, without the U.S. Marshals, without the U.S. Nothing. No one can account for his trip in U.S. police agency. Like, what the fuck?
Actual story, and it is, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is unlike any other justices on the court. So maybe we can just start with.
He's the most corrupt. He is the most corrupt. He is the most corrupt. It's brilliant how they play it. Like, get the black dude, get him to do the dirty work, and then show you that. See, they like that too. This not racism. You see, there's plenty of them that's committing crime too.
Tell us about growing up. You grew up in Pinpoint, Georgia. What was it like growing up?
Well, I was born in Pinpoint, but I had most of my growing up. I've been fortunate. I think the misfortunes you have can lead to different things, and the house.
Anyway, fuck him. I'm done. Sorry about that, but I don't like this man. I think he's a sellout. Michael, you want to hear more? Is there more you want to hear this? Because I don't want to hear his fucking biography. I don't want to hear, his values.
No, I just wanted to highlight how chummy and personal he is with a sitting senator.
Yes.
Right? A sitting Republican senator, right? Someone who's in the forefront of the Republican Party when it comes to senators. Someone who probably might want to make a run in 2028 as a Republican presidential candidate. Let's keep that in mind. But
Ted Cruz.
We can go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yep. You're right, though. I think you're right. I think they're both in it for themselves. That's obvious. Yeah, they both in it for this is happening for more than one reason. This interview, it's good for a few different reasons, right? So, okay.
It's just funny, B, because you want to ask him, like, so how's working on those civil rights fights, and how's working on how's working on rights for minorities, and can you tell us about your victories? And it's just none of that.
None.
It's like, what are you been doing, bro?
I am the victory. I personally, Clarence Thomas, am the victory of African Americans, and as amount as fuck their voting rights.
I believe that this is just his attempt to really publicize himself, monetize himself, something we've never seen with a Supreme Court justice, because he just feels so emboldened with this administration. And he knows
yeah, you might be right, bro. Yeah, it's true.
Overwhelming support from this Republican Party for what they've done as a conservative majority in the Supreme Court, right? Like, But again, we'll see how it plays out. We'll see if Ted Cruz gets the backing of the Republican Party, or at least some of the party when it comes to presidential candidacy. We'll see what Clarence Thomas' future looks like when, Democrats take the House and the Senate, and if those lead to further investigations. I'm just curious, but go ahead, babe.
Yeah, we're gonna write a.
But the thing is, Michael, what were they waiting for? Like when Biden was president, even when Obama was president, there was plenty of evidence that he's taken bribes, and a bunch of other stuff. And I just don't feel like, Democrats go on the attack like Republicans constantly do. So there's just a big difference on the approach to governing.
True.
No, you're completely right. I think now that they've seen with the extremes that this Supreme Court justice has been doing, I think they put more pressure on the Supreme Court if they do get a majority. But who knows? They could also play the passive role like they always have, right?
Yeah. Oh, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna write a book. We can co-write it, and the title is gonna be called "We Don't Give a Damn About His Life." And put a picture about Clarence Thomas up in this motherfucker. We don't give a damn about his thank you. That ends it for me right there.
Well, it's like Uncle Ruckus has a brother that went to college, and he came back and thought he was a white man.
Yes, thank you, Eric. You gotta say it like it is, bro. Like, what the fuck? Man, I fucking don't like this guy. But I'm sorry, I got zero respect for him, man. Fuck that. Sometimes you gotta know when to say fuck that, Clarence Thomas. You don't have to just go along with it. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's a job, motherfucker. Goddamn. Say fuck that job. I ain't doing this shit. Yeah, like, what the fuck? This dude is like, man, he's shameful. He is shameful, man. Shameful. And it's not personal, but yeah, fuck you. All right, now, look, let's go on. Let's go on, because there was some other, this shit ain't personal. I don't really, I just can't, I'm sorry, can't sit down, can't shake the man's hand, can't have a drink, can't sit back, don't want to have nothing to do with him. Like, he sold out African fucking Americans. Like, he's a fucking sellout, bro. And he sold out Americans.
People going to college, Master. They talk about people going to college, becoming these liberal,
he voted against it. What did he vote against, Eric? What did he vote? He voted against.
It just seems, nothing. So it seems like the opposite happens here, where like they go to Harvard and even Ted Cruz and turn into giant fascists.
He voted against student debt relief. He voted against minority farmers. What was it called? The Minorities Farmers Act, something like that, where they were discriminated against. They didn't get the federal funding that other farmers got because of how the federal government passes it down to states, and then the states distribute it, and states were discriminating against minority farmers of different backgrounds, including African Americans. African Americans, one of them co-sponsored a case with the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas is one of the judges that shot it down. This motherfucker actually literally is there allowing Trump to do a lot of what he's doing. No, this guy, it's not even about him being African American. Listen, you don't even have to be insulted by that. You don't have to be a minority. You don't have to be African American. This motherfucker is against Americans' rights, civil rights. He is for the wealthy, the elite only. You have to understand that. Only. It's actually pathetic, man. I hate to see it, but it's pathetic. But in any case, let's go back now, because there's more coming out of the Supreme Court, what they did, and people should know. People should have a good idea about what Clarence Thomas is up to, and the Supreme Court.
Okay, it looks like...
All right, let's go back to this, what he's doing here. Let's see here.
District court judge, an appeals judge, a state court judge, whatever it may be, anything other than the Supreme Court, which of course doesn't have to abide by any code of ethics and is accountable to nobody. If you had a judge come out and basically broadcast their political or partisan affiliation with people who, as you said, have legal interests in front of the court, what would have to happen to those judges?
They would be referred for an ethics investigation.
Right. So that's what you're talking about, Michael, right there. The fact that he did these kind of things, he's already supposed to be up for an ethics investigation.
To one of the many organizations, both state.
That's exactly what I was referring to.
Yeah.
And federal, that oversee allegations of judicial misconduct, like a lack of impartiality. And, in this instance, what I oversee
have legal interests in front of the court, what would have to happen to those judges?
They would be referred for an ethics investigation to one of the many organizations, both state and federal, that oversee allegations of judicial misconduct, like a lack of impartiality. And, in this instance, what I am really hopeful of, Brian, is that if, or I should say when, the Dems take control of the House after the midterms, they actually conduct the kind of investigations and inquiries that are long overdue, particularly, Brian, that sort of list of horribles I just laid out about Clarence Thomas accepting these lavish gifts from Republican billionaires. These are things that he was required to report on federal financial disclosure forms. Let me tell you, as a career Fed, I had to fill them out every year, and they're the bane of our existence. They're very tedious. They're very detail-oriented. I was always afraid I was going to put a decimal point in the wrong place, so maybe I only disclosed $1 when I should have disclosed $10. And here you have Clarence Thomas raking in all kinds of money. I would call them kind of in-kind contributions from these Republican billionaires, and failing under the federal law to report it. What was his defense? People may remember he said, well, some of my colleagues told me I didn't have to. Well, you know what, sport? You're a Supreme Court justice. You really should know.
Which one? Which colleague? Because that colleague needs to go also. Which colleague told him that? And that's what an inquiry would bring about. But he's so bold, he may not even feel like he's obliged to answer that question, even under oath. You know what I mean? So it's easier to get rid of these people. Listen, if you do not get rid of these politically biased and corrupt Supreme Court justices, the United States is finished. Its people have already seen enough corruption. It's over. It's over. The date is over. The marriage is over. All you can do now is figure out how you're going to split up what's there. That's it. And you ain't going to have no together with these corrupt people. There's not going to be any coming together with that. Why? Because they make it impossible. That's why. So let's go on. This is crazy, man.
Requires you to do.
Well, it's worth asking here, Glenn, recognizing that this Supreme Court is not going to change. These Supreme Court justices are not going to alter their behavior. They're certainly not going to be pushed into altering their behavior or reforming their behavior by a Republican Party that is swimming in corruption. And so if and when Democrats take full control of government, what needs to happen? What kind of reforms need to be put in place to ensure that this kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore?
Brian, a couple of reforms and then congressional action. What reforms are necessary? Well, there are only 9 people who are federal government employees who operate in an ethics-free zone. They have no code of ethics or code of conduct that governs them. That is mandatory. And, when there is an alleged violation, that it can be investigated. There's a mechanism to investigate it. The Supreme Court justices are literally not just above the law, but they are above having to act ethically in everything they do. So, one of the first things is we need to put in place a mandatory code of ethics that has an enforcement mechanism, that has a body to investigate allegation of Supreme Court justice misconduct, and there need to be remedies, just like for all of the lower court judges, the federal trial court judges, the many judges on the courts of appeals around the country. They operate under a mandatory code of ethics, and they can be
right.
held.
So in short, you can hear there's all kinds of problems with the Supreme Court. American people, you paying their salary basically for nothing right now. Nothing. You know, and the reason why it's done that way is because there haven't been checks and balances on the Supreme Court to stop corruption. The country has grown since its conception. The issue of corruption is greater than it's ever been in the history of the country. The reality of corruption is greater than it's ever been. I mean, the corruption is basically going to destroy the democracy if it is not stomped out. And it starts at the courts. Anything you try to do for to punish anyone involved with Jeffrey Epstein, any government official who committed crimes in the Trump administration, if you want to deal with any of that, you got to deal with the Supreme Court. You got to deal with Congress but you got to deal with the Supreme Court too, because a lot of that is going to end up there. You see what I mean? If there's any federal charges, you think it won't go through the Supreme? Michael, do federal charges go to the Supreme Court? You there? Hold on, let me see.
I'm here. You said, what was the question?
Yeah. Do federal charges go to the Supreme Court? Basically, yeah. Right?
Yes.
And is that
especially if it's contested? So if it's appealed, and they want to appeal to the higher court,
and
it
it
keeps
will
going
be
through the circuit and eventually reaches the Supreme Court.
And it will be. It doesn't matter if it's a corrupt corporation working with Trump. It doesn't matter, which it will be, obviously, because that's how he does his crime, through a corporation's name, right? Or himself personally, or anyone else's individual self personally. So if you're not trying to get rid of these corrupt judges, you ain't really trying to punish nobody. You're not trying to stop or fix or stop the breaking up of the United States at all. If you don't start there, nothing can happen if you don't get rid of them. So yeah, but in any case, let's get to the next part. Then this is the other
Earlier
thing.
this morning.
This happened, right?
Earlier.
Oh wow, is it like that? Here, let me pull it over to the other screen. Sorry about that.
We're gonna see, if they, obviously they take over, if Dems take over the House and the Senate, if they are going to put forth legislation to put these check marks in order to start investigations and things of that nature into, how and what influence has been on the Supreme Court, right?
Right.
In terms of ethics, right? And if they are compromised. And what's funny is if they do open an investigation,
this morning,
you know what interview they're going to use? The
What?
same one that he just did with Ted Cruz.
Yeah, they're gonna use that. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah, they are, bro. Exactly. 100%. And but go ahead. You want to say something, Eric, real quick about that?
Yeah, just remember, this is the guy who basically said everyone can have a gun. And he ruled that in 1991. It was probably very much influenced by the NRA. And I just think you can see in the years since what's happened. We have an epidemic of gun violence. We have 2,500 children a year that are being shot to death. And something, has to change. It's about 10 times other countries. It's even much more than some countries that are considered uncivilized countries that don't even track that kind of stuff.
Right.
So clearly something's not okay. We did have the assault weapons ban. That was actually repealed by the Republicans about 6-7 years ago, and that's weird because that was one of the few accomplishments that they actually had. It was bipartisan at the time, but the Republicans took credit for it because it was influenced by the assassination attempt against Ronald Reagan. So now you have that's been expired, and since then those type of gun deaths have doubled. So there's a thing where clearly something's not right here. The man has consistently, basically just carried the water for every, gun law, and in the country, saying that basically, when you turn about 16 or 18, as long as you have the money, you can buy whatever you want. And how has that system worked out?
Right. It hasn't. It's worked out horribly, and it's sad, but they didn't want reform. And now it's getting to a point where, Americans don't know whether they should not have guns or they all need guns, because is there going to be a civil war? You know what I mean? Does this motherfucker even want elections? And what's what I believe is probably there's a spike in gun buying right now and gun registering right now. It's because Trump is out here trying to stop the elections. I mean, what else would sell more guns? That's the best way to sell guns, that you could have. Say, hey, we don't want free and fair elections anymore, or to say we don't want mail-in ballots. We want to check people when they walk into the polls. We don't want the states to control the elections anymore. I mean, it's simple. It's an infringement on our motherfucking rights. States have rights. People pay state rights. And when it says states control elections, that means our motherfucking money, our rights, our rules. You live in your state, you make the rules over there, just like the fucking gun laws, but they want to, now they want to expand on that. And my question is, look, if you think you can do this with voting, why can't you do it with guns? Why can't you do it with guns? If you could do this with voting, why can't you do it with guns? Right? You see what I mean? So it's obvious they're for guns more than they are for democracy. That's what they're for. I mean, to me, that's what that tells me at the base, right? At the base, they may not consciously think that themselves, but what the fuck is it when your gun rights keep expanding, right? And your voting rights keep contracting. They
even expanded the gun rights under Obama. They lie that he restricted them and it went the other way, but it didn't. And ever since, the numbers just keep going up. So at some point, people have to make a decision. Are we going to be like other countries that seem to have gotten a handle on this, that have a lot more restrictions? I even hear crazy suggestions like, oh, we should do the Switzerland program. Okay, great. In Switzerland, you can only have the gun that you were trained on. You cannot have any ammunition. Only for going out and hunting.
They come in Switzerland. Yeah, they pass out the ammunition in times of conflict. Then they come and bring you your ammunition. You don't get to have it.
And when it comes to foreigners, they can't even have a weapon. Period. Not even.
But you know what? But these people don't. These people don't hate each other. You see what I'm saying? Switzerland, everybody has fucking health care. Nobody's running around worried about. They're not worried about crime in Switzerland. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that you don't have issues.
It's a lot of poverty-related issues, and you'd think somebody like Clarence Thomas, would be helping with all those kind of things. Instead, it's almost been the worst thing ever for the black community, because he just acts like there's no problems and they don't need any help, and that there aren't any inequities in our society. Yeah. And he's just like in some kind of giant ball of denial.
And it's a diss for other families that come from a slave cropping background. You know what I'm saying? Because seriously, but for some reason, it's like people think this is just a black thing. You know what I mean? Oh, he should just care about the black people. Yeah, he should. But some other people should be offended by this dude, like, because he's basically against the struggle of poor people in the United States. Man, do you know how many goddamn poor people there have been throughout the history? Just what the normal average used to be. It used to be the majority. It used to be the fucking majority, bro. The majority was ass broke and poor. The majority. Right. It's like, what the fuck? And he's just against it. So, like, I know often I mention that he's African American because they use that though. The right wingers use it. See, Clarence Thomas, he's a African American. Look at him. He's doing fine. They used him as an example, but it's important to point out that, listen, this poverty shit goes beyond African Americans in the United States. Historically, sure, they're a part of that story. African Americans are a deep part of that story, but not at all exclusively. It's not exclusive. You know what I mean? So for him to not even understand that, just as an American, it's crazy. We have to have class struggle. Even Martin Luther King had proponents of class struggle in SNCC. You see what I mean? In his own organization. It wasn't like Martin Luther King was just out there talking about African Americans. He was talking about poor white people too. And not Clarence Thomas, though. Can't do that. But in any case, here's more Supreme Court justice shit for you right here.
My office sued the United States Postal Service over their unconstitutional rule that would upend election procedures just weeks before voting starts. Arizonans have voted safely and securely by mail for decades. Republicans designed the safe and secure vote by mail system that easily more than 3/4 of Arizonans use. I think it's actually closer to 80 to 90% of Arizonans vote by mail. And we are going to make sure through this lawsuit that they continue to be able to vote by mail in 2026. This effort by the United States Postal Service and the federal government right now is a naked attempt to inject chaos and doubt into our election system right before voting starts. And it could harm the millions of Republicans, Democrats, and independents who choose voting by mail as they exercise their constitutional right to vote. States run our elections, period. Not the Postal Service and not the president, and that's why we sued the federal government again today. Over my dead body is that rule going to go into effect.
Whoa.
We are going to fight this.
What?
And that's why we sued the federal government again today. Over my dead body is that rule going to go into effect. We are going to fight this tooth and nail, and going to fight this. We are going to fight this go into effect. Dead body is that.
Yeah, they're already trying to mess with the post office.
Right. Yeah, they trying to jump on it right now. You know what I mean? And, this is what's going on in America. I don't know how many of you watching are from the outside. Obviously, a lot. Maybe I think 1/3 of the folks that watch this program are in Europe, right? Outside of the U.S., and then 70% are in the U.S. So big up to everybody that's chiming in, right? Maybe some from Australia, also Asia, But listen, this is what is happening in the United States right now. Trump is trying to stop mail-in ballots. He's claiming that he wants to update it to make it more secure, but he's doing this plan 1 month before the what? 1 month before the midterm elections. So how are you even going to be able to successfully implement seamlessly any changes? Who's supposed to guarantee that? When it's done, the elections are handled by the states. First of all, did you ask them how they're going to do it? Did you ask them could they do it? Did you ask them how much time they need to do it, to coordinate it? Any type of change? How were they made a part of these changes if they are supposed to be successful in a democracy, in a state that runs an election? That's their main job, to run the election successfully. It's not even the federal government's main job.
See, and that's the reason for them suing, right? That's the reason why the states are suing, like Arizona, right? Because of that reason right there. But what happens is even with the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court ruling essentially said that they can't stop something that hasn't happened. So until he executed the executive order, even though he already had plans to nationalize it, they needed him to literally put the executive order, according to the Supreme Court justices, in order for the states now to sue on the back end to claim the injustice to their state or the constitutionality of it from a state level, which is just straight up bull, right? We don't need him to pass an executive order when he's saying that that's what he wants to do, and then he goes forward with it. But he's utilizing his executive power to the max, because the USPS, which is the U.S. postal system that is in control of delivering these mail-in ballots, that's under the executive power. So that's essentially where they're getting at, right? He's utilizing his executive power to its max in a way that hasn't been seen before, right? By subjecting them to say, hey, we're not going to give you the mail-in ballots until you agree to our terms, and then I will allow the USPS, the U.S. postal system, to give the states the ballots to run its midterm elections or elections going forward. So again, it's just his poor attempt at controlling it, when on a constitutional level it already says that the states have control over how they choose to govern when it comes to their voting, right?
Yeah.
And so we'll see, this is going to be, but the whole thing is to affect the midterms. I do believe that,
Right.
obviously this goes to a court level, whatever the case is, but it's all coming,
Now,
it's all coming to a reason where they won't be able to challenge it in time for the midterms. I do believe that it won't be heard as fast in time
it's
for
basically
it to
undermining
not affect
democracy.
the midterms.
Yeah,
Yes.
I hope they're able to shut it down quickly enough. But who knows? It's up in the air. It should have never been done this way. The Supreme Court should have never injected its voice at all. They should have stood behind the lower courts. The verdict. Now, somebody in the chat named Aaron Winchester says that he says that it's good. Hold on, where's the comment at? Right here it is. Good because mail-in ballots are garbage, right? But let's listen to what this person in this state says, and then ask Aaron what he thinks should be done. Now, mail-in ballot system were created by Republicans, right? This is a toss-up state, so there's a lot of Republicans in this state. But let's listen to how this verdict is going to affect Republicans also.
My dead body is that rule going to go into effect?
Yeah, it's nothing new. It's been going on for decades.
We are going to fight this tooth and nail in the courts, and I've got the best Solicitor General in the country standing right there, who is going to make sure, along with the other attorneys general who are fighting this case. I think 25 states signed on to this lawsuit this morning. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There is a second injunction, but the second injunction is on the executive order. What the Supreme Court actually did is they ruled that our first lawsuit was not ripe. And now it is ripe. So, it became ripe when the Postal Service rule went into effect on Friday. And so now the Supreme Court basically said, all they said was, you have to file another lawsuit. And that is what we are doing, is filing that lawsuit in Massachusetts, in federal court in Massachusetts. But to your point, it is important that we win this lawsuit, because you have states that are within weeks, maybe 2 weeks, of printing ballots.
Exactly. Hold on. What happened there? Did it stop? Hold on. Let me go back.
So as you all know,
hold on. Sorry about that.
Earlier this morning, my office.
Here we go. Let's hear the whole thing.
Tooth and nail in the courts, and I've got the best solicitor. Our first lawsuit was not ripe. And now it is ripe. So, it became ripe when the Postal Service rule went into effect on Friday. It's Postal Service.
She says, this is the part I wanted you to hear. She says what state she's in, and she says how many people vote by mail in her state. Do you know? Put the answer. What percentage of people, put the answer in the chat, everyone who's been listening, since you care, right? What percentage did she say of the voters in her state vote by mail-in ballot currently? Since you've been listening. Also you, Aaron, I would like to know if you were listening. What percentage of the voters use mail-in ballots, and in what state is she talking about? Let's give Aaron a few minutes, if needed. Anybody else you can answer also. Yeah, she did say 90. And what state was that? Yeah, she said 80 to 90%. Yeah, but what state was it? What state is she coming from? You know? Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, guy random, whatever. He's talking about 125%.
I think it was Arizona.
It was Arizona. So rural states that are red states, these are the places where most of the people have to travel by car 20 minutes, a half an hour to fucking vote if they vote in person. These are elderly people. These are people that don't drive, that don't have, younger students, people like this. Yo, first of all, for you to support this and not even have a conversation about the demographics of people affected makes you, Aaron, dumb. Do you know how this will affect the military who is out there fighting to save your dumb ass right now, and you turn your back on them? You are betraying the people in the fucking military. Aren't you ashamed? Like, are you even American, Aaron? Who does that? Who sells out their own fucking military? Who says you're good enough to fight for me, but fuck your vote? Like Aaron does. That's who does it. So, yeah, it's shameful. It's shameful. But I have no doubt he's American, because there are some Americans that are that fucking shameful. That's how we got Trump. Because of bitches like Aaron, All right. Is he Canadian? Yeah. Nah, I can't do that to Canadians. I know who he is. He's either Russian. I'm talking about Russian in Russia. He's a troll, a Russian troll. I'm not even going to put that on Russians, man. He's a fucking troll. That's what he is. No, he's either a troll or he's American. Straight up, because we have fucking Trump, and these type of morons voted for a fucking convicted felon. Anyway, yeah, let's see here. Let's keep it going. There's more. Let's see what else are they saying about this. Let me see. I think Secular Talk also had a few other statements about this. What's going on with this election? Where am I doing this right? Somehow I got screwed up things. Okay, let me see. 2 seconds, y'all. I'm sorry. I got a little confused here. Is it this one? Right. Here we go. So let's move over. There's more happening with the midterms. So let's see here. Here we go.
Basically a rogue entity at this point. It's packed full of judicial supremacists and extremists. And
he's obviously talking about the Supreme Court.
So as you all know, the Supreme Court is basically a rogue entity at this point. It's packed full of judicial supremacists and extremists. And they basically now have a new crisis of legitimacy because they decided to massively overreach and basically destroy democracy. If I'm being honest with you, if I'm being direct with you, this is a direct attack on democracy and one person, one vote. And so I want to walk you through this a little more.
And just to qualify this a little more, right? This has nothing to do with the Electoral College. This is literally one man, one vote in these midterms. And they have found a way to fuck that. So what they did is your parliamentary representation, they're making it even weaker now. Because in the presidential election, you already have the Electoral College that does that. That makes it weaker. It's not one man, one vote. But the midterms is literally one man, one vote. And now they have interjected themselves into that also. Americans already started out before this. Right? You have half the parliamentary representation for your taxes of Europe when you put Europe together as a bloc, the EU. You have half the parliamentary representation. That means, for example, 100,000 people maybe in the U.S., or let's say 700,000 people might have 2 representatives. In the United States, they would have 1. So you're already starting off, at best, half of the parliamentary representation of a taxpayer in Europe that they already have. When you compare the U.S. to, let's say, the UK, they have the citizens of UK have 15 times more the parliamentary representation than an American tax-paying citizen has already. When you compare it to Denmark, the United States, Danish citizens, Danish taxpayers or citizens, let's say that, who are taxpayers, obviously, They have 35 times more parliamentary representation than an American citizen. Then you have these bitch ass corrupt judges. So if you're all for that and you're American, hey, no problem, man. You may as well go to the amusement park, the amusement park or the ferry, or what do they call that? The fair, right? The summer fair or whatever. Set up your little booth, turn around and put a sign on your back that says, "Kick me in my ass." And have people because this is what you've been doing to yourself. Okay, if you go along with this, you may as well just be somebody at the fair with a sign on your back that says "Kick me in the ass" for 10 cents, and because that's what it is.
Because we discussed the decision the other day, but I want to get into some more specifics, and then I want to get into new evidence that has come out, which seems to indicate it's all systems go. The Trump regime is dotting the I's and crossing the T's and trying their best to rig the midterms. That's right. They are trying their best to rig the midterms, and there's a lot of evidence indicating that, and nowhere near enough people are talking about it, okay? So let's start with this. MS Now breaks down the decision a little bit. We'll break it down as we go, and then I'll give you some more.
Hi again, everyone. It is 5 o'clock here in New York. I'm Alicia Menendez, in for Nicole Wallace. We begin this hour with big breaking news out of the United States Supreme Court, which has just granted Donald Trump a win in his fight to take control over our elections. Today's ruling is about Trump's executive order that would restrict mail-in voting. The highest court has granted the administration's request for a stay, which means that the injunction previously placed on Trump's executive order is lifted while the appeals process goes through. The unsigned order from the Supreme Court means that the Trump administration can move forward to create citizenship lists and only send mail ballots to those on the federal list.
Now, let me just point out real quick that the move from the Supreme Court here, this is the shadow docket shit, right? We're going to make a decision without making a decision. And the decision is, all right, Don, we're going to let you rock. We're going to let you do your thing real quick. But later on, we might make a decision that disagrees with what you're doing. But for now, no harm, no foul, right? You haven't actually rigged the election yet. So go ahead, keep doing whatever the hell you're doing, and we'll pretend like you're not trying to rig the election for now.
Because it is unsigned, we do not know exactly how the justices voted, but there are dissents from the 3 liberal justices. And that is where we begin this hour with some of our favorite experts and friends. Co-founder and executive director of Protect Democracy, Ian Basson, is here. Andrew Weissman is back with us. Plus, with me at the table, Princeton University professor and political analyst Eddie Glaude, and our senior legal reporter, Lisa Rubin. Lisa, talk me through this.
So, Alicia, somebody just asked me on our network, is this the sort of thing that I should be really concerned with, or is this not that big of a deal? And I would submit to you and them, this is a really big deal. What the states who litigated this case were trying to do was prevent the implementation of an executive order that Trump issued in 2026, presumably directed at election integrity. But it had a number of different provisions that the state said would fundamentally alter the way that they conducted their elections. Let me tell you about 2 of them. One permits the Department of Homeland Security to distribute to states state citizenship lists. In other words, to check against their voter rolls lists of citizens. The Supreme Court today says there's nothing wrong with that because it's compelling the state to do nothing. But of course, in the hands of states that want to participate in, that want to enforce this administration's immigration-related agenda, these citizenship lists can be a dangerous tool. We already know that, for example, the kinds of citizenship lists that they have compiled in the hands of certain states have led them to say to people, including Homeland Security investigations, you have as many as, let's say, 15,000 people in your states whose names appear in our records of people who are not citizens. The names of those people are on your voter rolls. Those people should be disqualified from voting. And in most cases, those are false positives simply because of the overlap of names.
That's called ballot purging, okay? It's a trick that Republicans use to try to put their thumb on the scale and sway elections and rig elections, if we're being honest, okay? So, for example, you might have somebody by the name of Jose Ramirez who dies, right? And then what the Trump regime will do is they'll look and there'll be 33 people in the state named Jose Ramirez, kick them all off the ballot, right? And what you'll notice is they will do this with black-sounding names, with Hispanic-sounding names, with any sort of Democrat-sounding names. They try 1,000 ways to Sunday to get you off the ballot, right? It might even be something as simple as like, oh, your middle initial is in this official paperwork, but it's not on the ballot. So how do we know it's the same person? Axe that person's ballot, right? Like, this is what they do. This is what they do. And this is like rigging elections, or even like putting your thumb on the scale and just influencing elections in one way or another. It's a very heavy bureaucratic process. Like you have to dot the I's and cross the T's and do the work. And what's happening here is the Supreme Court is saying effectively, yes, the federal government can make a list of citizens, which could be wildly factually inaccurate and bullshit and basically disenfranchise countless voters, and the states have to listen to the federal government. It's an official policy of ballot purging across the country is what we're looking at here.
One of the other things that this does is direct the Postal Service to initiate.
Hey, do me a favor. If you haven't clicked the like button, do me a favor. Click the like button. We got like 260 people watching. Do me a favor. Click the like button. It's going to help the stream go out to other people that like having conversations like this. So it enhances the conversation and enhances bringing awareness out to Americans in this time and the rest of the world watching. So I appreciate it if you click the like button. All right, let's go.
Initiate a rulemaking process to limit who can get a mail-in ballot. The Supreme Court today, in this opinion, the per curiam opinion, is saying the executive order doesn't force the USPS to do anything other than start a rulemaking process. That rulemaking process was only proposed by the president. The president is putting it in USPS's hands to decide what to do. And it doesn't compel this.
More on that in a second, by the way. Oh, it's the president telling the United States Postal Service you need to start this rule process. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, or I'm going to get something on that in a little bit.
States to do anything. That ignores the reality.
Right, because the bottom line is that states control the elections, not the motherfucking mail post office. Like, what the hell is that about? So that undermines the fucking Constitution right there, and it undermines the concept of taxation without representation. Like, you pay taxes. Why didn't Trump open up his term, since he's the one who ran on phony elections? Why didn't he open up his term soon as he took office, since there wasn't an election coming that year, no major elections in the first year? Why didn't he just go straight ahead and say, you know what, if I want to get rid of quote unquote bail-in ballots, mail-in voting, excuse me. If I want to get rid of mail-in voting, then how are we going to compensate this? In what ways are we going to build more voting institutions, more places for people to vote? Are we going to create other infrastructure so they can vote? What is the military infrastructure supposed to be so they can vote if it's no more mail-in ballot? Do you know how many service members use mail-in ballots? Do you know what the demographic is, period? I'm just saying, listen, I'm just saying, why wasn't there a conversation like that, since he is the president that is talking about this, that believed that this really existed? No, they did it on purpose. Just like they did this thing where after these midterms is when the real cuts to your Medicare will come in, right? After the midterms. They timed it after the midterms, right? So the real cuts will come in. Well, they timed this too to be right during 1 month before the election, so that it can interfere with how many people turn out to vote. And don't forget, the country was founded. There was a war called the War of Independence based on taxation without representation. And this voting is part of your representation as a taxpayer, as a citizen. We should be dictating this, not the fucking executive branch. Our goddamn Congress is the one. If anything, it needs to go through Congress. Fuck the Supreme Court and fuck the executive branch. Like, what do they have to do with this? Nothing. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, my advice is this. I don't blame people for buying guns. Because they don't seem to just want to capitulate to democracy and capitulate to the Constitution. They seem to want to get around it. And it's sad. It's sad, but this is what they're trying to do. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Where we are. Last week, the USPS, meaning the United States Postal Service, finalized a rule that would compel states to send to the United States Postal Service a list of those voters who are eligible to vote by mail 60 days in advance of the November election. And this service finalized
process. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, or I'm going to get something on that in a little bit.
States to do anything. That ignores the reality of where we are. Last week, the USPS, meaning the United States Postal Service, finalized a rule that would compel states to send to the United States Postal Service a list of those voters who are eligible to vote by mail 60 days in advance of the November election. And then only those people who are on the list can get a mail-in ballot from the United States Postal Service. It is putting an artificial constraint on who can vote by mail. And of course, it puts the states in somewhat of an untenable position. They have to decide, are we going to comply with this order? And if we do, our folks can vote by mail. But if we don't, are we basically setting ourselves up for a showdown with the federal government over mail-in balloting altogether? You've already seen some states say, we have no intention of complying with this. What does that mean then for the delivery of mail-in ballots when the United States Postal Service, as flawed as it might be, is still the only postal service that we have?
Okay, ready? Look at this. David Dayan says, okay, I'm officially infuriated by this because for literally a decade I've been screaming about vacancies on the Postal Service Board of Governors and what could be done with those seats. So the New York Times says, 4 weeks before President Trump signed an executive order seeking to restrict mail voting, he filed 4 nominations for vacancies on the Board of Governors of the U.S. Postal Service. All 4 were Republicans. 3 have expressed doubts about who won the 2020 presidential election and the security of voting. The selections broke with the long-standing practice of nominating board members in bipartisan pairs. 2 of those nominees are on a fast track for approval and could reach a full Senate vote when the chamber returns from recess in September. If confirmed, their appointments would effectively tip the board to a majority that is loyal to Mr. Trump. In other words, he's packing the United States Postal Service with complete MAGA hacks who are going to do his bidding, anything he says. And so, remember what I told you to keep in mind? That, the United States Postal Service is going to start a rulemaking process to determine all this. It's all MAGA hacks who say the 2020 is election, who stole and who are going to make the rules, and they are going to try to disenfranchise. They are going to try to rig the vote.
All right, so here is some facts, right? Let's go over. Regarding this ruling, right? President Trump's, hold on, let me see. Can I go to, you guys can see that, right? Yeah, now let me go to here. President Trump's 2026 executive order on election integrity introduces strict federal restrictions on how mail-in ballots are verified and processed, causing dynamic changes across states and for military members. See, here's the thing. A lot of people think they assume they know everything about it. I don't assume anything. Assuming is for assholes and dumb motherfuckers. This is way too important to be assuming, right? This is about your literal rights that people have had a war over. It's worth your time and your energy. Now here it says this. Check this out. And you know there's military members. So, I mean, I don't know how patriotic you are. And maybe you don't give a fuck about your military members. Who cares? Right? Maybe you don't. I do. But maybe you don't. And if you don't, fuck you. I don't care about you either. All right? But here, key provisions of the executive order. Citizenship proof of registration. Requires individuals registering to vote to submit documentary proof of U.S. citizenship, U.S. passport. I have a passport. Birth certificate. Have that too. But the reason why I have these things is because I live abroad. I live overseas as an American citizen. Of course, I'm only an American citizen. I don't have any other citizenship. I live in Denmark as an American citizen. I live here with my kids, right? But I've already have these things for other reasons, right? So a passport, I always am obliged to have one. Birth certificate, took care of that a long time ago. I had to get that updated because of some other things, and I only had a copy of my original birth certificate. So about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago now, I got a newly certified one issued from Washington, D.C., my birth state. Okay, now here, but a lot of Americans don't have that, you see? And the key question is, how long did it take me to get that newly issued birth certificate from Washington, D.C.? Did it take me a week? Did it take me a month? How long do you think it took? I know how long it took. It's not something you want to be doing right before an election. Strict delivery deadlines directs that mail ballots, including those. I mean, how long is it going to take you to get a passport, by the way? Do you have a passport? Put one in the chat if you have a passport. Okay. Must arrive at local election offices by close of polls on election day to be counted. Okay. So that's not, it has to be mailed by the end of election day. That is, has to arrive now. Okay. I wonder what can happen. What if a hurricane happens? Oh, well, fuck you. What if a fire happens? Oh, well, fuck your vote. You're just a taxpayer. You don't have rights. Fuck you. We don't want you anyway. USPS. These are Trump's new rules. USPS delivery controls the eligibility list. This is what they want. They want the U.S. Postal Service to control the eligibility list of voting. The Postal Service. Wow. That's deep. That's deep. Mandates that U.S. Postal Service, USPS, only deliver mail-in ballots to voters listed on federally verified voter eligibility databases. Well, that's illegal right there, because states run the elections, and states are not federal government. So, apparently you're for this by executive order. You don't even want this to go through Congress? What kind of American are you? A traitor? Verified voter eligibility data list requires states to upload detailed voter lists into new federal portals. Yeah, so how long do you have to do this? When is this? So you do an executive order, right? Why couldn't you do this through Congress? Why is a person supposed to think an executive order is legal? Why is the state supposed to think an executive order is legal? Why is it assumed that it will go through the courts successfully? Why is that assumed? Especially by this administration, since so many things have been shot down, were deemed illegal anyway. You know, by the way, why are you even fucking with the rules of elections in an election year? All right. Standardized envelope formatting implements new USPS envelope tracking requirements, barring processing for states that do not update their ballot envelope designs for federal standards. How many weeks do you have to do that? The election is on November 3rd. That is, what is that? That's 36 days from now. Yeah. How states are affected. The executive order creates a distinct split depending on how individual state election laws are structured. Universal mail-in and no excuse states most affected, states like California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, and Nevada, which automatically mail ballots to all registered voters. So I saw some people in the chat that said it have to be requested. Nobody does that, dummy. Well, guess who the dummy is now? Stop assuming this is something that a war happened over. Your rights, your representation, your taxes. You deserve detailed knowledge of what is going on. Do not be the fool and assume. Or you can. You can be that fool. But that's your own responsibility. I wouldn't listen to a fool, though, to be honest. I would rather me myself be responsible and know the details myself. And also tell other people, be a great American and tell other Americans the truth instead of spread disinformation. They must comply with federal. Okay, so look, Nevada, which automatically mail ballots to all registered voters. Yes. So they face operational disruptions. They must comply with federal list matching requirements and redesign ballot envelopes. Otherwise, USPS may be restricted from processing their outgoing or incoming mail-in ballots. What percentage of the voters in this state voted mail-in for Trump? This is Oregon, Washington, Colorado, California, and there's more, Nevada, but there's some more states allowing post-election day ballot arrival. Over a dozen states historically count mail ballots received after election day as long as they are postmarked on or before the election day. Under the order strict arrival cutoff, thousands of otherwise valid ballots could be invalidated. So, yeah, I mean, this is just putting another entity involved in elections that is going to be a barrier for American citizens' rights. This is a federal election. Only citizens can vote in federal elections, and only citizens, 99.99999% of the people affected will be citizens. Strict excuse required states. Least affected states that already strictly limit mail voting, mail-in voting or require detailed voter validation undergo fewer direct shifts. I mean, I think DC, look, coalition of 24 states in DC have launched active federal lawsuits challenging the executive orders, constitutionally arguing the executive branch lacks the authority to dictate state election procedures. And they do. They do. Except when you have a right-wing, extremist, corrupt Supreme Court. How military. Now, this is about our military members now. Those of you that are patriots might want to care about this, right? And if you're a military member, you might want to care about this. How military and overseas voters are affected. That's me. I'm an overseas voter. Service members deployed out of state or overseas face unique administrative hurdles under the order. Strict election day arrival. Overseas military. So damn. You better get your shit. You better send your shit in advance, even though you don't even know how to send it. Yo, Michael, you here? Who's that in the background?
I'm here. I'm here.
How?
I'm here.
How are you supposed to vote in advance when they don't even know what the envelope is supposed to look like?
But that's the thing, you know, like they are cutting off their nose to spite their face, right? When they know that most of the armed forces tend to vote more conservative, right? So to see that they're allowing this just because they have fears and want to control what election voting looks, what mail-in voting looks like, it's a travesty to even, especially the armed forces, who would overwhelmingly vote for Trump. But when you look at the armed forces who are essentially, you know, overseas, because that's who it affects directly, it's about 1 million people, which is, to be honest with you, is a fraction.
Hold on, say that again. Say that again.
Say
that again. How many?
I said it's about 1.3 mil.
Who is that?
Million people.
Who is that?
Who are actively deployed. They're actively deployed.
That's 1.3 million. We're just talking about military people. This is shameful. Yes. This is shameful. Active.
It's not patriotic.
That means people out there protecting our lives actively.
Yes, actively. Yep.
Yeah.
People who are active service duty members who are overseas. Which is around 1 point.
Okay, so stopping these people, changing the election rules like Trump is intending on changing it, right? Is that a patriotic act? Put a 1 in the chat if doing what Trump is doing, asking for in this executive order. Put a 1 in the chat if it is a patriotic act. Put a 2 in the chat if it is a treasonous act. I'm going to put 2 because I believe it's treasonous. And let's see how others. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Also, you know, it's a fraction when it comes to the people. It's a fraction of a fraction when it comes to the people that it would affect statewide, right? In all of the states, right?
Right.
Now you're talking millions upon millions, probably even tens of millions of votes that will be affected, you know, when it comes to this voter purge or this purge per se, right? And that's, you know, I mean, we've covered it before. The ones that tend to, you know, so the ones that are going to fight are the states that know that their future voting depends on mail-in ballots and how it's ran, right? So even if Arizona is a conservative state, now on their local elections, they don't want their local elections to be able to be effective in a negative way because of this executive order going in the future, right? They don't want to set that precedence. But for the states that do have already some sort of stringent rules, they're the ones who aren't going to fight it because they know that their voting system won't inherently be as impacted on the local level. So, you know, for instance, Arizona.
Right.
Arizona tends to vote red. Yes, it's a swing state for the most part, but it tends to vote red. But they understand that if they let this stand now as is, that it'll be harder for them to elect people in future elections, if that makes any sense, right?
Right.
Because of the restrictions that are implied that come along with this executive order, right? So it's like, hey, do I want to go against Trump? No, but then our democracy within our state is going to be so affected that we probably can't run comprehensive campaigns and expect the proper candidate to be chosen
Yo, bro.
based off of the votes.
And yeah, I agree 100%. Thank you for that. But going back to this thing, look at this. Military people, think about this. It says verified identity service status, but they typically do not explicitly serve as documentary. So military people usually have on them citizen document or military IDs, CAC cards, verified identity and service status, but they typically do not explicitly serve as documentary proof of citizenship. Troops stationed abroad without immediate access to birth certificate or U.S. passports face, but who carries their real birth certificate with them? That makes no sense.
That's insane.
And on top of it, what military person brings their passport? Like, what's the point in that? You don't need it to travel. It's not need.
I mean, we're not.
You don't need it when you're getting on a military plane.
Well.
And look, your military ID. Look, your ID. So hold on. I heard you say something about women. Your military ID, CAC card, you can get on a plane from overseas and get back to the U.S. if you got to get on a private plane. But you won't need to. Most likely, you just get on a military plane back home, right? So you don't need your passport. So that means they're expecting all these people to do what? A month before the election? Get a passport? What makes you think you're going to get all these millions and millions of people are going to get passports that fast? You don't have a birth certificate on you. Oh, you use your military card, but you can get a passport with that. But your military card is not good enough to allow you to vote. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. So this is pure bullshit. And the federal government should have, I mean, the Supreme Court should have refused to even hear the case, man. But go ahead. Women. Now back to women. How is it going to affect women?
And, you know, like, you could even go as far as women in the military, right? Because if they've gotten married throughout their tenure, now they have to make sure that that aligns with all their other paperwork, right? In terms of marriage certificate, in terms of everything else that comes along with it, right? Because it's going to be harder for them to prove that they are who they are based off a name change, right? So, you know, like, it just goes to show that it's just another, you know, women are going to be disenfranchised even more when it comes to something like this, right?
Yeah, and it can get a lot more complicated than that, because before 1970, if you were born in a military base overseas, they did not give you a birth certificate. They only gave you a proof of birth paperwork, and that's just not the same. So is that even going to be accepted anymore? There was folks who, you know, there's a lot of folks who just don't have their birth certificates. You know, they never received it for one reason or another. So when you combine that with also not having a passport, that can disenfranchise millions of Americans almost instantly. And then you talk about the elderly vote. The elderly vote loves to get out and vote in person. So this might be a big backfire, a giant miscalculation for the Republicans.
How do you vote early if you don't even know how to vote?
There you go, right? And guess who tends to vote earlier? It is the younger individuals who tend to vote earlier.
Right. How can you?
It just wasn't an issue for a long time. There was even a period where you could use a baptismal certificate to get a driver's license, because it showed a date and a correlation with your current age, how old you were at the time.
Okay, so look, it says right now you can still vote early. Casting your ballot in person at an official early voting site circumvents any problem. Why it works? You avoid mail transit. Okay, so how do you? Okay, check your local. Okay, what are you doing? Okay, bring it now. Strategy 2: hand deliver your mail-in absentee ballot. You could do that too. So that's also direct handing in. This is crazy. Hand in. use official secure
'cause
boxes.
That's what it is, right?
Right. Deliver.
Like mail-in is strictly where the conflict comes into, right? Because
Right.
if even when you vote early, you're voting in
Look at
person
this.
early, which you're already a registered individual. But also, if it does, you can still be purged, and that's what you don't want, right? You can still be purged from the voter registration, and
List.
then it can affect you,
Right.
right?
Right.
And your vote can be thrown out if there's discrepancies. They're going to look at
Yeah.
your signature to make sure it matches. That's a first red flag. And if there's a couple other red flags, then they can put it into a 30-day holding where it basically becomes a provisional ballot.
And by then, midterm
Okay.
elections are over.
Right. Now look at this about mail-in. It says returning your ballot by mail is your only option. Send it early. Mail your completed ballot as soon as you receive it, ideally at least 2 to 3 weeks before the election day to avoid missing strict arrival deadlines. Track your ballot. Use your state's online ballot tracking portal. Where's my ballot? Ballot tracks to verify when local elections officials receive and process it. Confirm state requirements. Double check that your envelope is signed, dated, and sealed according to the instructions. Strategy 4, option for military overseas voters. Request via FPCA. Submit a federal postcard application immediately to request electronic or rapid ballot. Use electronic submission if eligible. Over 30 states allow deployed military personnel to. I think I can also do electronic, and I'm going to try that this time through DC. I believe that's how I can do it for the midterms, electronic. And that's not the same as mail-in, right? Electronic's not the same as mail-in, right? But immediate actions. Okay, so in any case, but look, I just wanted to cover that because a lot of people think that this is just something to lightly talk about, or that this is a dynamic that's like a joking matter, like, it doesn't matter. All you have to do is do this. It's like, no, it's very specific. It is very specific, and you need to know your actual rights for real. Okay. Because they could change instantly.
And Master V, Ron Mersd, I think he's a Trump supporter in the chat, had a great question about how does this support help Democrats and not necessarily also penalize Republicans, and that's a great question. But the thing is, we just know that over time and historically that the less people that vote, it tends to favor Republicans, and the more people that vote, it tends to favor Democrats.
But here's where I will play a devil's advocate. More rural areas use mail-in ballots, which is the reason why the Arizona AG is pressing charges, even if Arizona leans red, because they know that it is the Republican. So more rural, the majority of rural areas tend to be in red states, and they have a more recent study. I'll have to look it up, but a more recent study showed that the restriction on mail-in ballots will directly impact red states in a negative way. Not that it won't, because ideally we know that the targeting will be done on blue states, right? The emphasis on the purge will be done in blue states, right?
And who are they trying to target, Michael? I think a lot of it is the minority vote.
There we go.
Yeah, and this is the way they think they're going to do it. I don't know if it's going to work out, for them, but it's not like Trump hasn't had some huge miscalculations in the past.
Right.
No, it's totally right? Because they will, and that's my whole argument, right? It will affect red states disproportionately, but disproportionately, it will directly affect red state voting. But how they choose to purge it, right? You may see a drop in voting in red states, but the true purge and the long-term damage will be done more so to blue states than red states, right?
And probably especially minorities, not necessarily even Hispanic. We're talking, anyone that's basically not white.
Yes.
Yeah, it is bigoted. And, whether it's politically bigoted, that's supposed to be illegal according to the Constitution. Any fucking way. You're not supposed to even discriminate based on someone's political affiliation, but yet Trump is doing it. But let alone any other means, but I just think it's affront to democracy and affront to taxation without representation. Like, very simple. Once you already know that Americans already, even before this executive order, are the Western nation with the least amount of parliamentary representation for their taxes. Once you know that, you should be working the opposite way, guaranteeing citizens their right to vote, because you have less parliamentary representation than any other Western nation. But instead, Americans are so fucking stupid. They're voting against their own goddamn representation. They don't even. They're willing to do it for bigoted reasons too. Whether you're red or blue, or whether you're black or white or Hispanic or whatever your ethnicity is, or whatever the hell you want to call it. It's sad to watch that, bro. It's like watching. And it's like watching cockroaches fight. To be honest, like to me, it is.
We're getting some very frustrating misinformation in the chat regarding, the origin of mail-in ballots. They've been around since the 80s. It's nothing new. In fact, some countries have gone beyond that. Australia actually went to mandatory online voting, and at one point they got as high as 92%. So what's the great thing about that? Well, you get over 90% folks, and people can't, the people that didn't vote, just can't complain. And so, and I think they had a small penalty, like $75 or something, if you didn't vote, and it was going for a while, but they did have an issue with some Malaysian gangsters hacking the system and wrecking one of the votes. So that's where, the thing is, it still has to be secure, but we can do that online now, where people can only cast one vote, and it would probably be even more secure in terms of catching people that try to violate that.
Yeah, it's already secure. U.S. elections are secure, and this is just basically a fraud on the American people. I mean, it was good enough to elect Trump twice. If it was good enough to elect Trump twice, what's wrong with it? What is wrong with this?
And let's remember, mail-in ballots, right, are an incentive to vote. The issue we have here in America is it's not voter fraud. It's voter apathy. We have so many registered voters who aren't voting, who are not voting.
Yeah. That's the bigger danger of voter apathy.
To further restrict them, to further restrict them is a true injustice, because now someone who's registered to vote and might have thought about voting but hasn't voted yet, maybe they've been registered for the longest but hasn't voted yet, they're more likely to get purged as well, right? If they see that individual has never casted a vote but is now, but is registered to vote, those are the people who are going to get purged, right? If you don't have a voter history, you should expect to be purged as well, right? Like, that is a part of what they're planning to do and how they're going to purge this.
I think,
so if you get galvanized now to vote and you've never voted before, your vote might be the most in jeopardy, right?
I think some of the people in the chat don't vote anyway, to be honest with you. I think a few of them. Turtle Hands probably doesn't vote, I think a lot of the people that talk this kind of shit are like people that don't vote anyway, and then they get mad when the shit doesn't go the way they want it to. And I'll give liberals credit. Liberals, when they lost the election against Trump, they went about their business.
Yeah,
right.
That's not
the nihilistic award of the evening goes to Turtle Hands.
Yeah, basically, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's talking about cheating. How does somebody cheat? Trump is the president. What the fuck are you talking about? Who cheated? Trump got elected. Like, what the hell does that mean? Anyway, you know what I'm saying?
How many people got arrested, B?
Yeah.
How many people got investigated and arrested federally? For voter fraud.
Yeah, how many people? I don't know, but it's not many at all. It's like 0.000 point something %. You know what I mean?
The penalties are very severe, especially if you're an immigrant. You'd be risking your whole immigration.
It's like this. Let's say you walk into a room with 1,000 people you don't know, but there's 3 that you do know: your mother, your father, your 2 kids, and your wife or your husband, your spouse. And you worried about all the other people, but you don't worry about the ones you care about. the ones you know you like. It's just a distraction. This thing about somebody cheating. What the fact that you know it's only 0.000 point something percent. Why are you stuck on that?
Yeah.
When that obviously mathematically has no difference in the outcome. Like, it means you're stupid. Yep. That's what it means. It means you are dumb. You're poor at math. You're poor at math. We talking about elementary school fucking math. This ain't geometry. This is like really just straight up math. You don't know what 0.000 point fucking percent is? It means you're a moron. Okay? That's what it means. And the world is watching. That's why I know the person is called Turtle Hands, because they don't want motherfuckers knowing their real name. It's like, I would be ashamed too. I would go on some cryptic shit too. Crypticsuccess.com. Yeah, fuck that, man. What about cheating? He's like, show me a picture of your family. Like, when you say some shit like that, like, I want to know where's your town? What town are you from with that crazy shit?
What's your state and who's your healthcare provider?
Yeah, like, what state are you from and who's your healthcare provider? Exactly. Like, can we qualify your statement with something? Give us something. God damn. But what the fuck? You should stand up.
It's really true. People don't understand that you have to be so ignorant to really think that there is mass voter fraud in a House, in a majority Republican House, Senate, executive branch, and Supreme Court. Do you not think they would have a field day by bringing charges on all the people and all the states that have had mass voter fraud? Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense. You know, like, that's where I'm at. But go ahead, V.
Look, here's another dumbass question. Why did Kamala win the states with no voter ID?
Wait,
because there's nothing fucking called voter ID, dumbass. How the fuck did Trump win? He won with with no voter ID, you dumbass. What the fuck kind of question is that? What state has voter ID when Trump won the election? Which election had voter ID? Like, see,
oh my God,
you know, like, but
there is steps in place. Yeah, there's your driver's license, and then they match your signature that is on file.
And that's not a voter ID. It's not an official voter ID.
Look, I don't think that person is American. I don't think that person is American. But if they are, they definitely ain't proud of themselves, because they ain't got shit up on their page about themselves, their family.
That's a failure of the U.S. system,
if you
of the education system.
For real. Crazy. If they really meant that statement, that is an incredibly ignorant question, you know. But
so when you do register to vote, give them a good eligible signature.
Look at this. Turtle Hands said, the first time I voted, I learned you didn't need an ID to vote. It explained a lot.
Apparently not enough.
Apparently not enough. Yeah. Apparently not enough. They definitely asked you some questions. Okay. And they definitely asked you for something, and you had to show something in advance before you voted. I mean, don't you know there's two parts to the process? One is registering. The other is actually going out to vote. It's not one thing.
But
you do know that, right?
When you do, when you do get registered, they check to see if you're registered in other states. There's things going behind the scenes that you don't realize.
Let me put the link down for Turtle Hands. Let me see.
Yeah,
I mean, aside from that, you also have to know your polling site, right? Which means you have to know where you live, what district you're in, right? How does that, you know, all of this information that is extremely personal, first of all, right? In order to commit voter fraud, you have to know this person personally. You have to know if they recently moved, right? You have to know all this information in order to go to the right polling site and say, hey, look, this is where, like, come on. And then you probably don't even know how you're registered to vote.
No, Turtle Hands.
That's why you need a current address. You can't use a P.O. box.
Turtle Hands is saying when they voted in Massachusetts didn't have any laws. They didn't ask any questions. Anybody could just go out and vote. That's what Turtle Hands is saying.
So when did the federal government sue Massachusetts for voter fraud?
Never.
Okay,
You know,
I'm
I
just
mean,
making sure.
but they do have a record on how many people they prosecute a year for it. They have that information out there. It's just the federal government doesn't want to talk about it because it's minuscule. But
Exactly.
yeah, you know, and it's just again, the federal, according to the federal government, 0.000 something percent of people vote illegally.
Right.
So
but
again,
we're having another type of voter suppression, like they say happened in Pennsylvania in the last election, where 260,000 black voters were disenfranchised because their voter eligibility was challenged at the last moment. And I think those 260,000 were only challenged by about 3 people, and they were from other states, mostly Florida. So it's kind of a crazy system there, where now you have to prove that you're eligible within 30 days. And I think that's, you know, in this case was actually after the election.
Yeah.
By design.
And that was Pennsylvania. That was a swing state that was probably going to go for Kamala, but it looks like there were some shenanigans.
Yeah, it's just somebody trying to troll. You know, the link is out there if you want to hop up, by the way, and let us know you're actually an American. We can have a good conversation then. But enough with the misinformation, turtle hands. Now, look, folks, we got to go. Time is out there. It's like 3:25 hours. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate everybody.
4 hours,
came out. Yeah, it's coming up on that. But I appreciate everyone coming out. Listen, nobody should have to put up with this. Right now, American service members' rights to vote, active duty service members' rights to vote are being threatened. Put a 1 in the chat if you are okay with Trump limiting active service members' rights to vote. Put a 2 in the chat if you are against Trump's executive order that harms service members' access to voting. Very simple. Boom. You know what? Yeah. There we go. No, let me just deal with this moron. Yeah. Anyway, enough with the trolls. Yeah, because that's serious, and you know, I'm just curious what people feel about that. To me, I don't see how. To me, it says fuck the military. That's what it says to me. Trump doesn't give a fuck about the military. Trump didn't serve in the military. Trump's son is not going to serve in the military. None of his sons. I mean, you know, it seems to me like it makes perfect sense. Classism is going to overrule all of this stuff. I mean, the day where you're actually doing things and you're actually harming military service members, and this is definitely, if this stands, this 100% is harming citizens' voting rights, especially overseas voters, which the majority are military, right? I believe something like that.
Yes.
But on top of that, it's still going to affect it. Just the fact that he did this, it affects it already, because states don't know how to react, because they have to wait for a Supreme Court to hear a case, to do something fast for the American people. And the Supreme Court just didn't think about the voting rights over Trump's executive office rights. They put the executive office over the American people, and the American people are the one paying the taxes for both. For the Supreme Court, they're paying to have a job. For the executive office people to have a job. The military, they're paying for the military to go out and fight, and they don't even know if they'll even be able to vote right now. That shit is crazy, man. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
So and this is just me like spitballing.
Yeah.
Do you think that the red states that do challenge this executive order, do you think Trump would back them in their primaries? Or would he talk negatively about them in their primaries? I'm just curious.
Oh, he's going to talk negatively about them. Very simple.
All right, yeah. I mean, I completely agree. Like, that's exactly my stance, right? I do think that he's very retaliatory when it comes to things like that. And when it comes to this initial thing, he'll probably, chastise, cast, and really ostracize a lot of the individuals who do decide to, their state's AG decides to challenge this executive order through legislation or just in court in general.
I just think, Michael, I think there's so many baby boomers who are Republicans, and I think a lot of their representatives are going to realize these folks like to go vote in person. And if there's some kind of mix up or issue on that voting day, that this could be catastrophic for Republicans. So I just feel like they're going to have to get his ear and get him to stop this, because it might be a huge miscalculation.
Well, yeah, because think about this. How far can you play this out? So you have if the executive branch is going to have all this power, well, guess what? There's still an election coming for that. That's 2028. That would be 2 years after this one, right? So that means, if you're doing all of this to try to stop Democrats from ruling,
it's a test run for 2028.
It's a test run for 2028. But you would have harmed so many fucking Americans. He's turning so many Americans Democrat right now by doing this shit. So it's like, by the time, if you giving the executive branch all of this power, then they're going to act on it. The next president is going to act on it. And I'm sorry, but there's no way in hell you're going to restrict all these people voting rights right now in this midterm and think that that's not going to have an effect on 2020, a negative effect on the person who did it. The Republicans are the ones who are allowing this to happen. They have allowed Trump to do all this. This will affect them in every election forward. It does. They could try to limit this midterms. It's still going to affect them in 2028. You see what I'm saying? Because they've already given the executive branch more power than Congress. What makes you think the executive branch ain't going to beat your motherfucking ass, Congress or in Senate? What makes you think the next party's president is not going to go all out? What makes you think they won't use every bit of your fucking power that Trump abused? What makes you think they won't? So this is fucked up. This is it's just pathetic. It's pathetic, but it is the only thing I could say that's positive is that at least we see that there's that much corruption in our country. And it ain't coming from illegal immigrants. Simple. They just don't have that much power. This type of motherfucking corruption only comes from the top of the American chain, the citizens, the very top, the elite. You know what I mean? So, and if the rest of you Americans are cool with this kind of representation in your own country, fuck you. You pathetic. You are nobodies. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, damn, you are the lowest of the low in the Western world. You're pathetic. You let this shit stand? You accept slavery. All right, y'all, I'm out. I'm sorry. I got to get my words in the most simplest way possible. I'm losing my eloquent speech and shit. Yo, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's exhausting.
It's exhausting, man. It's goddamn exhausting, yo. Any case, well, guess what, y'all? I'm gonna get some rest. Go have a little lunch. Then I'm gonna go to my union job later. And I'm going to have my 3 days weekend off from work. Yeah. I'm just going to continue my nice, decent life in Denmark as an American citizen, with my rights, my vacation time, all that shit, while Americans just go fuck each other, fuck the democracy all up and say, here you go, massa, I don't want my voting rights no more. No, you take them, massa. I'm happy here on the plantation, Massa Trump. Okay. Yeah. In any case, I'll see y'all later. All right, Jen. Peace, everybody. Peace, Eric. Peace, Michael, man. We catch up with y'all in the next 18.
Thanks, Master B.
All right, you welcome.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Michael.
Yeah. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Donald Trump. Release the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Mr. Trump. Fuck you, Trump. And fuck you, Trump. From 1 Trump, 2 Trump, 3. All right, peace, y'all. Later.
when
Yeah,
I'm
good night,
out
big
walking.
girl.
Sometimes I think about, does love still exist?
Peace, big girl.
Yeah, I have my doubts. On the street, I check out how brothers be living. Yo, let's just say, kid, it ain't no Thanksgiving. We got people shooting dope, ain't never heard of hope. We got others with the gat and the brothers with the fucking scope. As I enter the project center rec rooms, some brothers might see the doom. I see my nigga Paulo, fat pockets of papes. He knows the neighborhood biddies with all the dopest shapes. There goes Rollo with the blowout fro. He's got a gap, ayo niggas gots to go. No show is live with narrate, fuck Memorex. My nigga Rollo's got a gat at Paulo's chest. One slug blasted out, down boy died. Now show me some love, kid, it sounds like a fucking lie. The struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. Sometimes I think how the world come to this, a place where every man and woman needs a therapist. Mass confusion, people living in delusion, justify all the bullshit through the Constitution. Meanwhile, the masses struggle to survive. I think we're too busy to hear our people's cries. Singles mothers struggle to raise families, genocide committed through famine and disease. I wonder if these things will ever cease to exist. I know it could if we cease and desist, giving all the power to the industrialists, giving all our power to the damn commercialists. They see us just as being sheep in this world, that want us to do what we're told like boys and girls. Oh God, I wanna live another day so I can help provide equality and this yes, day. The struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. Everybody round the globe, open up your earlobe, your third eye, and then decipher the code. Through knowledge, understanding, then bring love into the concept instead of bling bling. Truth instead of biased educational methods, twisting, contorting God's message of love for every human being. Listen, motherfucker, don't you hear the screams? It's time to do much more than talk, debate, and spread hate. We need to think and at the same time investigate, understand what our actions may create. Before continuing the cycle we procreate, we can clone humans, but at the same time we can't feed humans. The future of man is actually looming. It's really depressing, it's true, and yes, you know the struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. Orientation in this place we call Earth. Love from conception, from your mom, your birth. Pops planted the seed in the turf. From there, you must find out what life is worth. Grew up learning your do's and don'ts before working on your motor skills, working on your coordination, right? And orientation to what you like. The brand new thing, so gentle the soul we're capturing. In this distance, the alphabets the kids sing. They celebrate when it's time to go outside. As you get older, you learn to let all the troubles in your life just glide away. Stay focused, keep it smooth, keep you cool. Things in life can make it get rude. If you let it, don't let it. 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 If you let it, let it, what? If you let it, don't let it, let it. don't let it. If you let it, don't let it. Don't let it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. Check it. We embark on this journey to your soul. You wanna have a good time. We embark on this journey to your soul. You wanna have a good time. We do something that you know you can't deny. We're just slipping in and out on a journey, you and I, on a mission to salvation. Our spirit be our transportation. We think you'll do a little love and that is true. For real, we bring something that you know you can't deny. We're just slipping in and out on a journey, you and I. Bring it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it.
Every day the children crying. What about the children crying? No, no, no.
What about the kids?
Don't forget the children.
Tell them about the children.
What about the children crying? No, no, no.
Yeah. Digging, scratching, working, struggling, hoping. Some is hustling, every man hustling, stay alive, that's the game. It don't matter if another gets slain. Pain, recession, other cats want a war, we got the weapon. People want bombs, so they gon' get them. This is the rhythm, the politics ticking. It's sad how we living in this life. It's gonna be a time that we change. Shit is not finite, life is the same. Motherfuckers killing each other to make a claim. Stop that bullshit, you have no respect for each other. You know the truth, you come from your mother, your sister, your brother. So love one another. If we make that change, the whole world will do the same. So listen.
All we need is one. Every day the children crying. What about the children crying? No, no, no.
What about the kids?
Don't forget the children.
Tell them about the children.
What about the children crying? No, no, no.
Yeah.
Every day the children crying. What about the children crying? No, no, no.
What about the kids?
Don't forget the children.
Tell them about the children.
What about the children crying? No, no, no.
Yeah. Digging, scratching, working, struggling, hoping. Some is hustling, every man hustling, stay alive, that's the game. It don't matter if another gets slain. Pain, recession, other cats want a war, we got the weapon. People want bombs, so they gon' get them. This is the rhythm, the politics ticking. It's sad how we living in this life. It's gonna be a time that we change. Shit is not finite, life is the same. Motherfuckers killing each other to make a claim. Stop that bullshit, you have no respect for each other. You know the truth, you come from your mother, your sister, your brother. So love one another. If we make that change, the whole world will do the same. So listen.
All we need is one. Every day the children dying. What about the children crying? No, no, no.
What about the kids?
Don't forget the children.
Tell them about the children.
What about the children crying? No, no, no.
Yeah, I wish someone would tell me when is the suffering gonna stop. I see time ticking, fuck your watch. There comes a time when man steps to the plate, but it won't matter if your mentality is fake. Where I'm from, we got a system, overcrowded prisons, 2 cents an hour, man. Listen, shit don't change if we keep exploiting each other. One day you find out you only did it to your brother. A homeless mother, a baby, no supper. She got a husband and father, they both love her, but they can't find work cause the people with the power, they got a strange way to govern. Their price tag say nothing. Life is funny, then again it's really not.
People dying for what other people got. I asked God if he can come and change the shit. He said, hell no, it's you that's gotta change this.
Every day the children dying. What about the children crying? One.
Come, let's get away. In the jungle, a place where the monkeys swing, where peace, love, and harmony's a bad thing. Exists a magical gift the rhyme bring. I'm about